Nice.
Oh, yeah, because it's. No, it's now on.
Thank you.
Yeah. Aaron, are we live?
Yeah.
Okay. I got 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, yeah.
Hold on.
7 o'clock. Okay. The meeting of the Town of Rochester Planning Board on October 14th, 2021. We're live on YouTube, so everybody behave themselves. And to do the pledge to the flag first.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You know.
If anybody is here for the public, 2 public hearings, for sign-in sheets for each one, if you wouldn't mind signing in. Would you call the roll?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Chair Jones,
Here,
Mr. Zarowski,
absent with excuse.
Ms. Lindstrom, Mr. Grasso,
Here.
Mr. Williams,
Here.
Ms. Maloney, here, Mr. Pinsky,
Here.
Mr. Jarvis.
Yeah.
We also have the attorney, Mary Lou Christiana, here.
Okay, so I can have a quorum. Is that true?
Yes.
Thank you. A couple of announcements for the board, for the public. We have a list of meetings in your package that Nicole left out for you. By the way, she has pertinent documents that you need for tonight. We'll be handing the maps out as we go along, but documents you see in front of you, I asked her to make copies, so we'll be doing a lot of shuffling and passing of stuff. So in your package is a list of the meetings for next year. I want to note that in October of next year, again, we have that holiday situation. We're going to set the meeting for Tuesday. Usually it's Thursday,
I
but we
just
set
want to
it
know, I
for
have
Tuesday.
another meeting that night.
On Tuesday?
The second Tuesday of the
So we're
month,
not going to
yes.
set.
So
Um,
I may not be the attorney. We never know.
Well, you never can tell.
Oh my
All right, then I'm
goodness.
gonna wait till we discuss. The reason I made it Tuesday is because our planning consultant has a tough time with Thursdays. Are you okay with Wednesdays?
Wednesday's fine.
So let's tentatively set it for Wednesday, which will be up to 12. And I'll confirm that with Liz, who won't be here tonight, by the way, because of another commitment. And so if that's the case, I'll let you all know.
Right, well, you'll have to vote on it.
Okay, I won't for tonight. then.
Right, wait till November to vote, and that will give Nicole time to publish those
Thank you.
dates.
I'd like to have a working meeting at the end of the month. We had one last month, again this month. There's 3 reasons for it. One, I'd like to some administrative, not changes, but just reminders that I prepared. And also to take in some of your recommendations. I got 3 or 4 separate emails from you where I called for some recommendations and changes. So I'd like to go through those changes with you at the 25th. I don't know that we're going to get a chance to do in a regular meeting. These usually last pretty late, so I would do that at the beginning of the workshop meeting. The second item that I'd like to discuss in the workshop meeting is the Jager Project. And it's more of a presentation from the consultant, Carney, from Peak Engineering. They wanted to be in this meeting, and I told them, no, we were too busy tonight. There's too many things. We'd be here at 10:30 or 11 potentially. So I'd like to do it at the workshop meeting, give her an opportunity to present. By that time, you'll have comments from Liz, our consultant, our planning consultant. You will have some comments. She should have it out tomorrow or Monday. And you can ask broad brush things about the project, because that's where she is right now, kind of broad concept. And lots of interesting comments, I'm sure, will come out of that. She wants to get a feel for where the board is. So that's the second thing I want to do. The third thing I'd like to do is the Mallard Test project. We had a little bit of a bump along the road in terms of where we're at. Mostly we're going to proceed at all. The client had a little bit of a problem with a couple of things in terms of our escrow that we asked for, but we settled all that, worked it all out. All the comments are in, what I can see from our planner. She sent them in. You should have them. I'd like to discuss it. Let the board see what those comments are, listen to each other and come up with, are there any issues or not? Not going to make a decision. It would be back on the November 8th for perhaps a public hearing, not sure. I'll do that also. So 2 meetings and 1 time chatting amongst ourselves. But I'd like to add an opinion about it. And then would entertain a motion to actually have the workshop meeting.
You don't have to have a motion to have it. We have to have a motion if you're canceling.
Got it.
Because it's already scheduled and published.
All right. So any comments?
Question, what is the Jager?
I can hear you.
Question, what is the Jager project?
The Jager, it's load the information up.
Yep.
It's off of Lucas Pike. Lucas on one
It's
side and
Drive.
Peninsula Lane
It's a
on the
four-
other
Look it up,
side.
all
It's a
right?
14 lot subdivision.
So it's a 14 lot subdivision.
Okay.
Lots of water. I'm not gonna say issues, just it's gonna be a long.
Okay.
So if we can get a jump on it, it's out there on the drive. Anybody have any comments? All right, so we're gonna have that meeting. It starts at 6:30. All right, so trainings, just a reminder that we have 2 months to go. For anybody who hasn't made their 4 training credits. The chair is getting closer. I sent you some information about a course that I took last. And I'd like to take action on the minute, we have 2 sets of minutes.
Did you want to, I'm sorry, did you want to talk about the training with Mary? I have that written.
We're
as a
gonna
note
talk
on-
about that, I think, at the workshop.
I had a note on here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Action on the minutes, we have minutes from July 13th that from the regular meeting that we had not.
September 13th.
I have September 27th and July 13th.
September 13th.
September 13th and September 27th.
Isn't that what I said?
No, you said that.
Sorry, it says. you know what
You're
it
just
says?
wishing it was summer stuff.
Sorry. You're right, September 13th and September 27th. So I'll entertain a motion on the so the 13th,
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
second.
And second.
Aye.
And on the minutes, the workshop minutes from the 27th. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes
I'll make a motion, they look great.
made by Ms. Lindstrom, second by Anne Marie. All in favor?
Aye.
And approved.
Chair, do you want to talk about the maps?
Yeah, I had combination of Zach and Mark. I like maps, so I set them on a mission to get maps. One for each of you of our zoning. We'll just take a couple of these and pass them down. I'll give you 3 of our zoning districts. It may be helpful when you're looking at a project. And I also had 2 larger maps. You made them. And thank you, Zach and Mark, for taking care of that. Checks in the mail.
Yes.
So it may be helpful. For anybody who's not familiar with all the sections of the town, two large ones, I'm keeping one. And we may hang the other from the ceiling. But I understand we have to get permission to put anything on the wall, so we'll take a look at that. But so that may be helpful. And again, thanks to Ron and to Zach. Anything else?
Not that I have it down.
Okay. So the first project is McGelly, Silver, and Goyette. Distributing that. And it's a new application. It's a simple lot line adjustment.
Hey, how are you?
All sorts of political signs in here.
Oh, yeah. Throw 'em. Anybody?
This is, yeah, my ID doesn't.
I like my spot.
Oh, it's-
Okay, all right,
it
off
is
you
a-
go
it's-
now.
it's- But now you got that. nice
Good evening,
back.
Heather.
Good evening, Rick.
How are you? Since this is a new application, why don't you tell us what's going on?
Sure, it's a very simple lot line adjustment. Basically, Marins and Nageli want to acquire 2 acres from Silver and Goyette. And Silver and Goyette's lands are vacant. There's nothing on the parcel that they want to acquire. And it also helps put, right now, Nageli and Marin's parcel is a little bit shy of the 5-acre zoning, so this would actually make them more conforming. And that's about it. I mean, there's really not much to it. They already have, the Nageli parcel already has a house, Gary, and a well. They're not planning on developing. They just want to have more privacy along the creek. They'd like to have land on both sides of it.
And the applicants were both parties, right? You had 2 sets of applications for.
Yes, there's
Yeah.
Silver and Goyette. Did you mean there's 4 people
Yeah.
total?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any comments from the board?
Looks cut and dry.
Any comments from our attorney?
No.
No, we're all set. All right. It is cut and dry, and so what was prepared tonight, thank you, Mara, for doing this, preparing the lot improvement notification, so we can actually go through this tonight.
That'd be great.
You have the certification in front of you in the package that Nicole gave you, so I'll wait for you all to signal that you have it, or you have it online, either which way. It's in the pack. You don't have it?
No, this one here.
Did you,
It's a single sheet.
it's there, you got the package during the week. Didn't you?
Yeah, I got it today. Oh, yes.
It's
You have
just
it now?
one piece.
Single piece of paper, 2-sided. I have copies of
Right
it.
behind your agenda if you have
Should
it.
be
moved
mine.
things around.
So many pieces of.
Here, you can look on, I can look on the computer.
There you go. Mary Lou.
All right, we're all set.
Yeah.
This is a lot improvement certification, and you're gonna find these, if it's permissible, I'm gonna fly these, not this one necessarily, but some of the others, not be each and every piece of the and the decision. But with this one, it's short, so we'll read through
Well,
everything.
we usually don't even read it,
I
we
was
just
gonna say,
make
yeah.
a motion to certify it.
Yeah, that's what we do.
On the lines?
Lot lines, yeah, unless you had some condition. in there,
No, I'm
which
fine with
we
that.
don't.
Moving on.
So you can just make a motion to certify that.
Just a question, are any of the applicants here?
No, just me. I'm doing the presentation.
So the only thing we need is to make sure that on the map, that we have the certification.
The lot line note.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's, just make sure. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
And finally, I have to read it. I'll entertain a motion to approve it. Mary Ann, Anne Marie. Anne Marie,
I'll
second.
Ginger.
Second by Mr. Grasso. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Skip her.
No abstentions, so it's approved, so you're done.
Great.
you.
Thank you. Oh, you'll be seeing me a few more
That'll be
times.
the easiest of the night.
here for the night.
All right, the next one is also a public, excuse me, public hearing. And so before I start the public hearing, what I'd like to do is hold up the maps and
I have
Nicole
it right
will
here.
distribute the maps. Nicole, would you distribute these maps? Are the applicants here? Hi, why don't you want to come up? You don't have to, but I think it'd be appropriate.
Okay, so here's one. Yeah, I sort of plus my.
I don't want to make you look like that. But you can't open anything up, you said.
Sure, I can.
I can't
It doesn't, Colleen set up the
A drama going on down here.
Offset the computer
Okay,
for
Maureen.
multiple access
Is that what we
points.
have?
Thank you. I'll just look on with you.
Big surprise.
It's also on the
I'm gonna
drive.
show you to do it.
Oh, don't worry about it.
It's not I only have the one. With the.
Yeah.
the Two with the tax.
Who, Heather, are you representing this one too? This is- oh, this is
No,
John.
it's
John
John
Post?
Post and he's kind of on a COVID watch. He can't leave. I can get him on the phone if we need anything from him.
No, I don't think
Okay,
that's not necessary.
okay,
Yeah, I spoke to him earlier.
okay.
So I do think there were a couple of things that are not on the map that should have been on the map. For the record, did you tell us who you are?
I'm with Rock Mountain Farms and I'm Kristen Osterhout.
First name again,
Kristen,
Kristen?
Is that KRI?
STEN.
STEN?
Yes,
You may not be able to answer all these items, but there were a few questions on the map. And I think the board may have some questions too. Kathy Jo placed the access for both of the lots, both lot 1 and lot 2.
I believe that it
It
is.
is.
Okay.
It is.
Says the rabbit.
There's no access from,
Robert's Drive.
what is it?
I think it's
Roberts?
Robert's Drive. yeah.
Roberts Drive. So this is for John. The access onto Kathy Jo from lot, well, from the larger lot, it doesn't seem to connect with Kathy Jo. Just this dotted line, looks like an old, it's a trail. There's a dotted line and it just runs off.
Okay, there's probably an old wood road through there. So I can get him to clarify.
There's a road
that.
that goes.
We
There's
need
a
to
road.
we need to see, it has to be labeled on the map.
As the
So
access
wherever
road.
the access is from,
Yeah.
we need to label it on the
It's
map.
not connected to Kathy Jo in the map that he gave us.
It's all wooded. It's all wooded. It's right next to me. It's all wooded land.
Okay,
Mhm.
so it needs to be marked as the access road. Okay.
I think where it says, Rick, where it says proposed drive. Do you see that?
Right, but the proposed drive doesn't, what it's coming from. There's not a
Proposed drive
labeled road.
doesn't-
that it's coming
There,
from.
there's no
The
road.
proposed drive goes into
I see
something
what
more.
you're So if you drive it, the road goes from the Joe
Right.
down.
Right, I'm sure, but we need
We just
all
need to
that
connect
labeled on the
it.
It needs
map.
not to be on the map.
Makes
right?
sense, got it.
An old, for all I know, it's an old Native American.
It's an old woods road, yeah. So it needs to be connected.
The location map. We have the location map that was in the new submittal. Okay, so we're all right with that. Does the board have any comments that they want to make?
I have a few questions. What is on lot 1? What is the source of water? Is it enough capacity? Is that source of water to supply?
This has its own water district.
It goes into a water district. It's connected.
Like that, but so is that sufficient?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a pipe there essentially?
I'm sure there's a connect.
There's a
There's a
curb
water
valve.
valve
If you see on
somewhere.
the map, there's a proposed curb valve there.
We would be
Or
connecting,
the-
tapping.
In the
pipe.
blown up map, Surian, from the, which on the computer, you know, on that map. there's an inset that shows.
Yeah, okay, I saw it.
A little dot.
So there is no question, there will be no capacity in.
Right, it's part of a water.
It's part of the water system,
Okay.
so
All right, then I have another question. Lot one, what the slope grade where the house proposed? It seems like looking at this map, that all rainwater will come down to the house.
Yes, all wetland, that's-
so they're all wetlands in the back. Is that what you're referring to?
Um, Yeah. But looking at the topography, it seems like it's the same situation on lot two.
And you can.
Rainwater to the house, so basement could be wet. Because, you know, some measure taken to,
So you're suggesting that we have the John Post potential wetlands
There aren't any wetlands. Only wetlands,
is in the corner.
you have a FEMA flood zone back and maybe some wetland flood zone and around it. But where the proposed houses and the proposed drive, I mean, it's not great land because you do, all of the subdivision is up here and then it slopes down that other piece back there. But there are no wet per se. It's completely lands. So I said to the guy, if you drive there, it's lands that have been disused and used and cut down and recut down. And it's like the lands behind a subdivision.
Yeah,
So-
literally, there's housing on top and it sort of falls off the back. It is flat. It's not.
When you get down where that is, it's flat. It's, there's sort of a cliff.
So
on
the-
the-
the rainwater running from the hill is gonna go on the basement of the new house, or it would be.
Well, when you do your finished grading for the house lot, I mean, this would grade away from the house, every pitch away.
What you're asking is where the house is placed. Is it,
Potentially, and I have personal experience, I lived in Indiana, was like a small hill running, and when it rained, everything is there. So I'm just asking, any measures would be taken to prevent from.
well, let me ask the applicant, when you discussed the with John Post, who's not here, you discuss, and you must know what the condition of the existing property is. Did you
Yeah.
discuss the possibility?
We really,
not being a
yeah,
good
we're
site?
not concerned about that because when you build, you take into that and finish grading, you just, not talking about, but just, like, get it away from the house.
Okay,
Redirect
so-
it. I mean, you can do a lot with grading and just.
Yeah, and so as long as we keep it in mind, it just essentially.
I mean, if they were putting 3, 4, 5 houses there, it'd be a different story.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one house on, looks like almost 6 acres. Would it be a fine place unless it was wetlands, which it's not. The wetlands are quite up in the back. You see those light blue teal lines in the back, on the top of the map. So I'm okay with it. Anybody else? Do we need?
You have to do secret before.
Yeah, we need Department of Health. For the,
Well, before they can.
You can make it
put
as a
their stuff
condition.
in,
of
they put in,
approval.
have what we usually do.
we'll make it a condition.
We do a condition, right, they have to get the department.
All right, so what we need to do now is seeker. I'm going to suggest that this is a unlisted action, uncoordinated. We're not coordinating with any outside agency, unlisted. So we have, or in your package. Do they have, I'll read it out.
So first,
We
we
need
need
to-
to vote on
Yeah.
the,
I think
you should, right, have a motion
Okay.
to have it.
I'll accept the motion to type this as unlisted, uncoordinated.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Have a
second.
second. We need to do a roll call. Nicole, would you do the roll call?
Yes.
So Chair
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Uh,
Lindstrom,
Yep.
Mr. Grasso,
Yes.
Mr. Pinsky,
Yes.
and Ms. Maloney.
Yes.
Okay, so that types it. And I have the impact assessment here. And I did fill out a short form, which was in the, not in the package, but it was online in Google Drive. So I'm going to go through, if anybody has any objections to how I answered the questions in part two, let me know. Question number one, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? I said no. Two, will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? I said no. The other part of it is no or small impact, so I took that off. The other option is moderate to large. So, number three, will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No, or small impact. It's a somewhat dense already. Four, will the proposed action that cause the establishment of a critical environment? This is not a CEA area, so the answer to that is no. Five, will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking or walkway? No, or small impact. Six, will the proposed action cause an increase in use energy and it fails to incorporate reasonable renewable energy, conservation or renewable energy? So the answer is to that is a small impact, but it's categorized as no or small impact. They're going to use more energy. It's not significant, in my mind, to cause us to make it moderate to large. Seven, will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies? No or small impact. Or B or ND, public private wastewater treatment utilities. No or small impact. Eight, will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historical, archaeological, architectural or resources? No or small impact. Nine, will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, namely wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora or fauna? No or small impact. 10, will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, and drainage problems? No or small impact. And 11, will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No or small impact. So for the second page, there are two boxes to check off. First of all, there's no items of significance that need to be dated, and I'm indicating here, that's what we'll vote on, is we've determined, based upon the information or analysis above, and any supporting documentation, that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. And that's what we vote
So
on.
everybody agrees to that motion.
Accept the motion, that there's
Made a motion.
Basically, like that.
a negative deck.
I'll second the motion for negative deck.
Who made the motion? Zorian. Maren made the second, and it's a roll call vote.
Okay, so Chair Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Ms. Lindstrom.
Yep.
Mr. Grasso,
Yes.
Mr. Pinsky,
Yes.
and Ms. Moore.
Yes.
Okay, so that takes care of seeker. The next one should be the hearing. And rules of the road on the public hearing, but before that, there was a public hearing that was sent out in the appropriate time frame. And there was also notice of the public hearing sent to the contiguous landowners. And Nicole, you can confirm that,
Yes,
both the posting and the appropriate timeframes and the sending to the.
it was
sending of
published in
notice.
the newspaper, posted on the website, and distributed via mail.
Okay, that's fine. So the public hearing is, the rules of the road for the public hearing is you're addressing the board, not applicants. So if you can address your comments to the board. And I think 5 to 7 minutes should be sufficient. If there are any comments on this project. And with that, I'll open up the meeting to public hearing.
There's Chair.
Thank you. We did have somebody who signed up to speak. Tammy Hart. So if he'd like to address the board about the project.
My only concern is there's gonna be a lot of traffic in there with Mr. Olszewski's stuff going in and out. And our road is bad as it is, because I'm on the dead end road of the property where he's next to me, and that's all wetlands next to me. That is soaked, and it's all filled with trees. Old trees that's gonna rot, and it goes off to a cliff. It's even an acre of land. There, next to me. I'm
So-
on 50 Kathy Joe.
Okay.
His would be right next to me.
Can you show the board, do you mind coming up and showing the board on a map where your parcel is?
Should be the corner across right here. This is it here.
At 50 Kathy Joe?
Yeah, I'm on 50 Kathy Joe on this side, left side, the last
Right corner.
space on the,
So you're right next to the property.
right next to the property there. And that is all filled with trees, and it's all wetlands because everything comes road down onto that property, as well as where he wants to build the houses. It's all wet down in there. Okay, it used to be trees. He knocked down all the trees, and it's still wet down there. Okay, he tried to take down the trees so that it would dry up. It's not dried up, still wetlands. You can't drive down there. Your car will sink.
So you're saying this
Okay.
area, this area?
This area right here is what she's talking about.
Yeah,
this
he's
area.
already cut down trees and done work over there, but our road is being affected. Our water, my water will be affected because it's the next house on next to me, which is still with our water line.
Are you on the same public water system?
Yes, I am. Yeah. And it's all gonna affect me and my neighbors. There with the water and the wetlands. And the beauty of the place is beautiful. Instead of having all these machines come in and knock down all these beautiful trees, to find out that it's all wet anyway, and you can't do nothing. And I've lived there 40 years and all wet. I was a kid there, 8 years old. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
very welcome.
Anybody else like to speak on this project? Board comment if you want this time, or do I have to close it
You
first?
should close it first, but I mean, if you want to ask the applicant, if she has any response to that, certainly could.
Do you have any response to the concerns expressed, which I heard? You're all on a public water system, so
Yes,
I'm worried if it was on septic, but the issue of the machinery going in and out, that's part of construction.
it is part of construction.
What about the fact that it's just quote unquote inaccessible because of its wetness?
Yes, so you have to realize I am a pinch hitter tonight, so please bear with me. But my father is Howard Osterhout, and he's been building houses and building lots for a very, very long time. And I'm sure that he sees a way to build a nice house lot there. They've owned this property for a long time, and that was always the intent.
Was this part of the original subdivision?
Yes, no, is it part of the original subdivision?
I'm not sure. They did own another piece, and that sold years ago, but I don't know.
So if it was part of the original subdivision, I think what you're getting at, member Lindstrom, is that it could be considered to be a major subdivision since it's already been
It would be
subdivided
reopening
once.
major subdivision in that case,
Mhm.
but as Mary Lou always says, it was picked by code enforcement as a minor subdivision, but sometimes they don't. It's just for the one that's up top there. It almost looked like it was part of the subdivision,
The other one wasn't.
but the stuff in back wasn't.
Right.
The
but
one on the
I have
map
no
to go off
idea.
to the where it says new, it's the smaller one was not, and the probably was, is that what you're saying?
The other way
No,
around.
Other way around.
The small one was.
If you go on the land, the small one is sort of
So this
up.
piece of land
Higher
right
like the other one.
Up like the- Exactly,
And
and
it's the
then
one-
you go down a
Is-
luge run into a swamp.
All right. Well, Does anybody else on the board have? a
I just have
comment?
one. I believe that the parcel with the 1 acre lot is at road level grade compared to the neighbor's lot and the other neighbors across the street, rather than the 5 point whatever acres in the back
The
is
5 is definitely down.
significantly down below, right? So I think that the 1 acre lot, just based on, is fine, is based on what we see on the map, but it doesn't look like there's any concern for the other lot, so I don't have any other questions on that.
It was timed as a minor, and I hear you, man, that,
No, I was asking just for the sake of asking.
Yeah, the neighbor thinks not.
Right.
any other comments?
The public hearing before you have your comments, if the.
If there are no other people from the public who want to, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Warren,
Second.
second. And we're all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any further discussion? And I think larger plot out of almost 6 acres. Would be a way to find a spot to build a house,
Yes.
and it would be a way to make the road passable. If not, you're building a digging a poke.
Yeah.
Sorry, the public.
One more thing. I don't oppose the houses going up. Okay, I don't. It's the road that he's gonna be going back and forth. It's gonna be putting pressure on our water that is not strong as it is. The pipes that are there are not strong right now. And Otto is sick in the hospital. So he's our main guy that has to keep it going. And if they start putting heavy equipment on there, it's gonna break those pipes.
I hear you.
You know.
The public hearing is closed. I hear you.
I just want them to know
But I,
that I
you know,
have no problem with
I think
building
it's a
the
good
house,
comment.
that's fine. You know, then
If it gets broken, you're gonna have to fix them, I suppose, but we can't go there in terms of what might happen
Yeah,
as a result of the construction.
Yeah.
Any
I
number of
just
things
wanted
could happen.
you to know
Is
that what it looks like, you know, because I lived there for 40 years. Next to me just
Public.
goes
Public.
down.
Okay, so.
It's town
Okay.
road.
Wait a
So
minute,
be-
I'm gonna have to ask you
she's
not to make
gotta-
any more comments
Okay.
because we're out of the public. hearing. All right.
And I'd just
I
like to
appreciate
remind
it,
you, it being a public road, the water lines being there, there's going to be, input for driveway permits and everything from our highway department, and they're gonna make sure that any pipes are protected.
Okay.
All right, so if there was an issue, it's gonna be taken care of by the highway department.
Yes.
Do you understand that, Mrs. Hart? So the highway department would be in charge of it because it's not. It's not.
And they could
private
even
road.
initial.
So they would have to take care of
that.
that 100%.
Yeah, it's a public road,
Yeah.
so you can't, it's not a posted weight limit or anything on that road, I don't believe, so you can't.
Okay, is the board ready to make a decision on it? I have a written decision. It's in your package. So this is decision for a minor subdivision, the applicant being Karen and Howell Osterhout, doing business as Rock Mountain. It's a subdivision of a parcel section block and lot CA.4-6-1.117, approximately 6.6 acres into 2 lots. One lot of plus or minus 1 acre and a second lot of plus or minus 5.6 acres. You can see from the map, it's accessed by Kathy Joe Place. Parcel contains farmland of statewide importance. The far rear of the current parcel is in FD overlay district, known as the FEMA 100-year floodplain. Also contains hydric soils and probable wetlands, as in the town of Rochester Aquifer Protection Overlay District. I'm going to skip. I'd like for a minute to skip things that are, I could read as I go along, or do I have to read everything?
You should read the findings.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, the rest is just the documents that you
Yeah.
looked at. You don't I need those.
We're going to go to page 2, the findings of the planning board. The planning board received a referral and determination letter for a minor subdivision from the code enforcement officer. The applicant proposes a subdivision of the particular parcel into 2 lots, 1 acre, one lot being 1 acre and the other lot being 5.6 acres, with the original parcel being 6.6 acres. It's on Kathy Joe Place, and we read the details before of what kind of overlay zones are there. Number 3, the applicant's representative met with the planning board, sent it the subdivision map for review. The board discussed and reviewed the proposed subdivision, requested additional map details, namely neighboring parcel owners listed on map, location map, location of proposed dwellings, driveways, well and septic, topography and delineation of the FEMA floodplain area. The parcel is in, number 4, the parcel is in the R1 and R2 zoning districts. Number 5, the existing plat is filed with the Ulster County Clerk. Number 6, the current use of the parcel is vacant land. Proposed one will be a plus or minus 1 acre lot incorporated into a community water system and will need septic plans which were submitted and for which the DOA approval exists. Proposed lot well and septic parcel is partially highly sloping, dropping to flat land, is in the AP overlay district and is partially with the floodplain overlay district. No land disturbance is proposed within the FD overlay portion of the parcel to the rear. The proposed land uses meet the regulations of the FD and aquifer protection overlay districts. 7, Rochester R1 zone districts are neighborhood residential districts designed to preserve the predominantly moderate density residential areas of the town and to protect them from incompatible uses. Rochester R2 zone districts are low density residential districts. This district is intended to recognize and preserve the integrity of predominantly low density rural residential areas of the town and to protect them from incompatible uses. The R2 is the larger lot and the R1 is obviously the smaller lot. The application was determined to meet the requirements of an unlisted seeker action. Negative deck was determined upon review. We held the public hearing. Number 10, the board reviewed if the proposed lot has safe and legal access. The board concludes that proposed lots will have adequate 50-foot frontage on the town highway, namely Kathy Joe. The parcel is in the R1, R2 zoning district. Upon review, the board concludes that the 2 proposed parcels meet or exceed the bulk standards requirement for the R2 zoning district and for the R1 zoning district. The board reviewed if the proposed lots could support water and septic. Lot 1 will be connected to a community water system and has also Department of Health approved septic. The planning board need engineered certification for Ulster County Department of Health approval. That new lot number 2, which is the 5.6 acre lot, can support water and septic. That's going to be one of the conditions of approval, which we'll get to.
I have one question. An existing plat as far as the Ulster County Clerk, what's the existing plat? This will be filed after approval. Is there, am I missing something?
No, you're not missing something.
I can call John and ask him.
That we said, that's
Okay,
what.
okay, I'm like,
Is that-
because there was something that
It's an
was
error, it's
filed,
okay.
okay.
Just take it out, or is that the
I don't know.
the plat that exists as it is right now? With the one whole big piece.
Yeah.
System.
Same plat.
Without the lot.
Well, I don't know that there's that would be filed, the deed would be filed with the county clerk. But do we know that there's
No,
an
it's
actual map filed?
Take it out.
And it doesn't
take
really
out,
matter if
yeah.
there is or not, I would
Right.
take that out,
So we'll take that out. That changes the numbering,
right?
which.
Format that, would you?
So let me change it here. So everything moves back one number. number after 4, 5 is out and 6 is now 5 and it's on down the line. Any other comments?
I mean, it does say Sylvan Glade Section 1 filed in Ulster County, and I'm not referring to it, and they do show that is. I don't know if it's the entire thing or not.
It
Goes to the
doesn't add
question
or take
before.
away anything? So you recommend that we take it out?
What number is that?
Go back to this.
It's the same.
Number 5.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess that question, I don't know if it was Mark or Mern asked earlier,
That it was a major
Subdivision.
right,
subdivision.
was this part of the?
You're-
Would be a good time to call John.
Where this came from. The existing plot is the original subdivision.
If this isn't part of it,
Part
we
of
don't
it.
care, and if it is part of it, that's a
Hi.
whole.
Then
different-
Do you know
becomes,
if,
Sure.
property was
Right.
part of the original subdivision? Do you understand what's going on? There's like Ulster County filings
Sylvan Glade.
for Sylvan Glade. You're not sure what that is.
On this map. Reference it, that's why we're asking.
You don't,
Okay, so it could just be for reference, that's fine. To show in
you
which
know what's
case
on your
take
map,
5 out.
right? Just for reference.
So what's the?
And
so the-
and these do not have
The
lot
references
numbers
to
on
the
them like they
adjoining
do.
property,
this
Sylvan
file
Glade.
map. So down at the bottom, the proposed subdivision says filed map number 24, and then in that same font, it has lots 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 30, and over here, lot 8, so there's more, but those lots are not shown on the Osterhout property.
So you think those numbers and everything are just for reference, as not part of the original subdivision?
Should be tabled.
Those lot numbers.
So if you have any access to it, or if it's filed somewhere. You have,
You want me to pull the
it goes back to 72, so.
He doesn't believe it was a lot, it was just the land that was left over.
So that's part of the original.
But if it's additional land and not a lot, and it was part of the subdivision, that's,
That's part of the subdivision.
so why don't you? let's
Exactly,
table
that's a
it.
problem, because then it should have been.
Let's table the decision.
Do you want me to try to get my father?
I don't think,
I think we have to look it
I
up.
think we have to look it up. 1972, it makes a difference whether this was or not.
Mary Lou would help to read the deed.
It may or may not be able to see if I can find the file map.
I don't want to take a lot of time on this because
Hold
so
I'll
it
put
might
you
be
on.
just for the next
And
meeting.
that's fine, we
Yeah.
can look at it.
All right, I'm going to accept a motion.
Can I
Unless-
put John on speakerphone for a second?
I think we need to have the attorneys talk to John
Okay,
and research the records. We're not going to be able to talk us out of this or
Okay.
into it. So I'm
Okay.
going to,
So we have the file map number.
yeah,
they have it.
It's on your,
It's on your map.
all right, so
And
let's,
it showed it's other lands of war of the owners, so it wasn't a remaining lot.
everyone's may or may not be in the.
all right, so what we're going to do,
We'll table it. I'll
is that
look
what
it up and I'll
Christine,
say.
right?
Kristen,
Kristen, sorry. I'll accept a motion to table the decision.
Table this decision. until-
You
Yeah.
have 62 days to make a
Yeah.
decision. And if this is a re-subdivision, you can hold a public hearing and have them amend their application for a major subdivision.
Okay,
We need to do
all
that.
right. That's probably the intent of that number 5, that it was. Yeah,
Right,
For a
but
reason.
that would,
we have a motion to table it from Anne Marie. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Patrick, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? To the board and the applicant, we have 62 days from. I think we should be able to resolve this within a couple of days. And
to make the decision.
so we'll see. And it needs to be between our attorney, records,
Right, it needs to be
and joint.
records if we have.
I pulled them the other day, what I have from my, because you had asked me. There's
Oh,
two big
okay.
folders.
All right.
but
So
they're
Okay,
in
so
my-
we'll look at that to be sure.
Quick question, Rick,
Yeah.
it was a continuation of the public hearing and then it's
No,
not.
no, it's
No.
closed.
It was
It's
closed.
closed. If it turns out we find out the re-subdivision, you can make a motion to reopen the public hearing.
Thank you.
Okay, me too. Okay,
And they could
Okay.
ask for a waiver, right, Mary Lou, for most of the
Yes,
division
yes.
criteria, so you wouldn't have to go through the regular.
Thank you.
it's more pro forma that we have to go through.
Mhm.
Type is the right thing and
So will you be giving us a decision whether it's a major or a minor subdivision?
I think after Mary Lou
After the
looks at
research,
the, reviews the records that we have.
Okay,
Expensive. And then speaks with John Post.
I won't even need to speak
Okay.
with Mr.
She'll be able
Post.
to-
I'll look at the County clerk's office and our records and then
Should be able to determine whether we can go forward as a minor. or we
Okay.
have to revise it to a major,
okay,
and then the public hearing gets reopened.
if it goes to a meeting.
goes to a
Okay.
major. If it's a minor, they can make a decision with. 60 days.
Okay. Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Good night. Okay. All right, so the next item.
I'm going to.
And the next project that we have to go through is the Joseph and Christine Schneider. Minor subdivision.
Final,
You guys got
but I have the initial one is not much different than the final. There was just some wording that was changed. So if whoever
Just give us a
wants.
few minutes to get our act together.
Does anybody
Based on
want an
that.
actual?
No, okay.
I'm good.
All right,
I don't
I'm
know.
ready.
I don't have it.
The only major difference from that, the proposed versus existing house and stuff.
And the radios.
Oh, great,
Right,
thank
so
you.
I think the board certainly remembers this project. It's the. Everything is existing on the map, as you can see correctly now, it was marked. All right,
That's the old.
This
one.
is the
There's
old
one
map, so
copy of
it's-
the final.
there's a final map that should say, not proposed map, but proposed, well, it should say.
Existing.
Yeah.
Is existing, that was one of the issues with the maps. So okay, great. So it's near the road, near the town recycling, across the street from some farmland. And all the applicant is doing is dividing the lot down the middle. You see their proposed new property line, so it's a simple. Mention the R2, it meets all. So we may have some questions or comments. The only comment that I have is that we have letters on file regarding for the some of the provisions of
Just for-
minor subdivision.
Which we really didn't need, we can ask for a soil test if we want. Sam asked for this.
Mhm.
to get a waiver for the minor subdivision. We don't really need it for minor subdivision. Basically, FOIL would be for doing a soil test or doing topo, but it's bone flat and everything there.
So there's no need for those items.
So just say,
Well, what I'm wondering is, and this is probably a question for you, Mary Louise, whether that we have from the Schneiders, it says they're requesting a waiver from all the non-applicable provisions of the subdivision code. And that code is 125-12.
You
You
know,
had
for the
mentioned-
septic and the water, it makes sense because they're already existing. What we need to know is, we need more specificity for a waiver from, because if you look at that list, it includes paying your fees.
Then maybe I had checked that wrong, but I don't, we don't.
this was, they don't really even need this waiver letter. This
Yeah,
was
so
Sam asked for
Sam
it
just mentioned it.
and mentioned it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it got, but I don't really need to waive anything because they've done everything.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
we
I'm like,
could,
what am I missing?
right,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, so we really didn't need this letter.
no.
Okay,
Okay, thank you for it anyway.
but we're not gonna grant you waivers, but you don't need them.
Thank you. Then. All
I
right,
think
so
he was
that
confused
was,
with the majors. We need to.
it's really for major.
It's for majors,
Right.
like a lot line that's a
Right,
major. Right.
and Rick and I
Right.
discussed, I said, I think that
That's.
it's
how-
a different situation
Exactly,
than we're gonna have
that's-
here.
So I understand now why we asked for it, because Sam was talking about the soils. It kind of put us down a rabbit's hole.
Yeah, I did.
So it's okay. We did need the ag statement though.
We have it.
We have that.
We have the ag statement and we have secrets.
So that's on file. So that's okay. So what we need to do now is to type it for secret purposes. And similar to the previous one, Mike believe that this is, what I'm suggesting is that this is unlisted, uncoordinated as well.
I'll make a motion for that.
Okay. Second,
Second.
Anne Marie. And roll call,
Okay, so Chair Jones,
yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Lindstrom.
Yep.
Mr. Grasso.
Yes.
Mr. Pinsky.
Yes.
And Ms. Moore. Yes.
So this is officially an uncoordinated action. And then we need to do the EAF form for me for this.
Did you need the?
Yes.
We'll just use this.
All right, so this is the part two. The first item is, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adapted land use plan or zoning regulations? No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? No or small impact. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the community? No or small impact. The proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause it to be a CEA, which is a critical environmental area. This is not a CEA. 5, will the proposed action result in adverse change in the existing level of traffic? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy? And fails, no, it's existing, or we're doing this a lot. No. 6 is no. Will proposed action impact? No, there's already wastewater treatment there, so no to both of those, or small impact. 8, will the proposed action have character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna? No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage? No or small impact. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No or small impact. So there's no here of any moderate to large impact. There's no kind of mitigation. And so there's an action. which we've determined, or I said that we've determined, is based upon the information on analysis above and any supporting documentation that the proposed result and any significant or adverse environment. And we need to do a motion for that.
I'll make a motion for a negative declaration.
Maren,
Second.
second. Mark, and we need a roll call on that as well.
Chair,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Lindstrom,
Aye.
Mr. Grasso,
Aye.
Mr. Ski,
Yes.
Ms. Maloney.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion is carried. Let me guess, I'll sign all these later. Okay. All right, so we've taken care of seeker. We can proceed. With the decision, you have in your package that.
No,
Nicole
wait,
handed
public
out.
hearing.
Here, public hearing on the Schneider application. Going once,
All going out the other way.
Going out.
You're staring at them.
Schneider application, anybody? Once, going twice,
No one signed up.
and nobody signed in, so I'll accept the motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Patrick, second. Anne Marie. We don't need to do a voice. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion's carried and so ordered. Now we can read the decision. It's in your package without at the beginning of the meeting. So this subdivision for Joseph and Christine Schneider. You're all aware of all the details that are on page 1. I'm going to fast forward to page 2, which are the findings of page 2. Number 1, the planning board received a referral and determination letter for a minor subdivision from the enforcement officer. 2, the applicant proposes the division of the parcel into 2 lots, one of 2.4 acres and the second lot of 2.37 acres. Number 3, the applicant met with the planning board and presented the subdivision map for review. The board discussed and reviewed the proposed subdivision and requested additional map details and some map corrections, namely neighboring parcel owners listed on the map, location map, corrected scale of the setbacks, and the location of existing driveways. I don't, number 4 is needed anymore.
Yeah,
'cause
that's
we-
why it was in red. See, we can get rid of it. That was.
We can get rid of
issue.
number 4.
That was about neighbors.
Yep, got the waiver, so. Going with the,
Do I need to come and give you a numbering lesson? I'll show you how to.
I'm
number.
not the one who creates these documents.
the real number 4, the parcel is in the R2 zoning district. The existing plat is filed, here we go again.
Yeah. Is that like
Interesting.
just some boilerplate?
That has been since Mike put it in since the beginning of. Exactly.
That can come out,
Yeah, it should.
okay. We renumber again. So what was the Route 5 is now the new.
Yeah, it's
One.
okay. Once I
One,
take out
I'll
the
get
stuff,
it.
it
is
should
the new
renumber it.
3, and then
Is
that's
there-
will be, no, then be.
The parcels in R2 and number 5 is now.
I mean,
is the
used to
old
be
7.
7.
The current use of the parcel is residential. I'm on the old 7-5. Proposed lot 1 and proposed lot 2 have existing single-family dwellings, garage, and existing well and septic. Parcel is flat to rolling lands. Rochester, it's in the Rochester R2 districts. Those districts are low-density residential districts. This district is intended to recognize and preserve the integrity of predominantly low-density rural residential areas of the town and to protect them from incompatible uses. The new number 6, which was the old number 8. The application was determined to meet the requirements of the secret action. The negative declaration was returned to you. Number 7. The notice of a public hearing was held. Number 8. Proposed lot has safe and legal access. that concludes that proposed lots will have adequate 50-foot frontage on the town highway. The new number 9, the parcels in the R2 zoning district. Upon review, the board concludes that the proposed parcels meet or exceed the bulk standards requirements for the R2 zoning district. And then number 12, board reviewed if the proposed lots are septic. Both lot 1 and 2 have existing water and septic. Draft findings were prepared by the chairman or the chairman's designee and were read and discussed by the planning board in public meeting at the time of adoption. I'll entertain a motion to accept the findings as written above.
Motion.
Zorian, second.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. Resolve on to the conditions of approval. Resolve, the town of Rochester Planning Board grants minor subdivision conditional final approval permitting the subdivision of lands situated at 6064 Airport Road, Accord, New York. The subdivision plan dated August 25th and revised.
On this, Mr. Post just sent the map and not show this revision. So you might want to, so the original map that you guys have before it was a proposed house and then
To
we did
existing.
everything.
Okay.
And that was dated August 25th, 2020.
Okay.
You probably should just read in there and revised whenever he bought it this year,
Oh, okay.
which
Updated
was updated it. So
Okay.
just write a second, so just keep it August 25th, 2020 and say, and revised.
Okay.
I don't know what it was called, September.
Yeah, there's just a
7th.
spot on them.
There's a spot on the map. That's the only thing that's missing there.
Okay.
Or otherwise, it looks like that was done at the old map that you had. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
That's what. Because
I got it. Yeah,
he just keeps the. he
Updating
tends to
the
keep
original.
Updating the original one, and then you can't keep track of the stuff that.
Okay, so I think before I sign the maps, I need to get him to
Update the date.
Oh, yeah.
update the dates.
Add a revision line to it.
Yeah.
For the
So
yeah, the final map.
Note of that.
Rick,
Okay.
one thing on the map it says like Sand Hill Road now are formerly blank. Is that the real name or is that just a blank? Off to the right.
Is Sand Hill Road, is there a Sand Hill Road?
Yeah, there is a Sand Hill Road. The road used to be like a path that was owned by the.
I think the blanks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That-
Oh, that's right.
his name,
Exactly.
Joe Blank. Joe
Yeah.
Blank.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Joe Blank. So
That was what.
Yeah.
That's what Patrick was
Yeah.
asking, like, what is that?
Oh, because I know
His
his
was
his
right.
son-in-law.
It's not
had-
blank. It's.
It is the
It
blank.
was the blank.
It's blank.
Exactly.
That's all I needed.
Pretty funny. There you go.
Okay.
So how do we handle this? We have a blank road that's labeled.
It's not the road.
No, it is Sand Hill Road now.
Sand Hill Road is the name,
Yes.
but it was
Formerly blank
formerly
road.
Formerly it
blank.
was Blank Road.
Blank.
But
That's
blank,
BLA.
this is like Laurel and Hardy right now. Who's
I
on
know.
first, who's on second? But it was Mr. Blank
It's
Right.
good.
Road.
good.
Who's still
Gotcha.
alive, by the way.
So we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I thought you said
Is this like
This
this
is Laurel
this
and
page
Hardy.
intentionally blank?
by Mr. Blank.
You know what?
Abbott.
Abbott could
Exactly,
still, there you go.
exactly.
Who's on first? All right, we good to continue?
Yes, definitely.
The subdivision plan, we went through that. Conditions of approval. All fees are due to the town of Rochester involved in this application shall be paid in full prior to the chair's signature on the final plat. The applicant shall present a final plat for signature. The final plat shall update a plan revision dates.
So it's already in there.
The plan, 3, the following plat shall be on the recorded final plat map. Any further subdivision shall be treated as a major subdivision under TOR subdivision law. All required local, county, state, or federal shall be secured for the current and future use of these lands, specifically local driveway permits. This conditional final approval shall expire 180 days from this approval date unless the final plat is presented and signed by the chair. This period may be extended for 2 additional 90-day periods upon application to and resolution by the town of Rochester Planning Board. Town of Rochester Planning Board further grants minor subdivision conditional final approval, permitting the subdivision of land on satisfactory completion of the conditions of approval 1 through 3, and grants the authority of the chair to certify that the conditions have been met and reviewed, sign, date the plat without further resolution at such time. So the only thing that we need for me to sign is all those changes. What about the dates? Is essentially what this is saying.
So suggest that we're right now, it's in red and advised and we don't have a date. That it just say the subdivision plan dated August 25th, 2020 as revised and reviewed on 10/14/21. And then you have that other section down below. that
Which says-
you add revision date. That's better than leaving it blank. I'm not blank again.
Subdivision plan dated August 25th, 2020, as revised and reviewed on October 14th, correct?
Is
Yes.
approved with the plan.
It's already in there.
There you go. Thank you.
So John Poster,
Yep, you can
just
put in a
revise the
revision.
date.
We just need him to add the dates to the existing map
They're
of
not
the,
on.
of the revision. So the map was created 25th of last year.
Great.
We need the new revisions that
Today's
show.
date.
Because we
From
require
today's date.
changes.
It's not on the new map.
No,
Just-
no.
No, he didn't put the new date in.
we
It's,
just
it's a
need the new date.
technicality. The map is okay.
He was right,
Revised
just
the
need the
map, but
date.
he didn't.
Changes
revise
are
the
there,
date.
but not the date.
Easy
So if
fix.
somebody went and looked, they might look at that original map, and think that's what was approved.
Okay, I understand. I just
Yes.
assumed he would have done.
What he changed, the primary thing that he changed, if you remember, was the scale was wrong on,
Yeah.
right, that was wrong. And then he proposed on the septic and on the house, and it's all existing. We
Right.
changed all that
Okay,
on one of the maps that we have, but he didn't change the date
okay.
Mhm.
of what we're
Revised.
approving.
To show the change.
Okay,
Okay.
Easy fix.
So the effect of this approval is, one, the owner shall file in the office of Ulster County Clerk such approval plat bearing the chair's signature and other related documents within 62 days from the date of signature, where such approval shall be deemed to expire without further notice in accordance with New York State Town Law 76. Two, the owner shall have the responsibility to return 3 Ulster County Clerk certified copies of the filed plat and any other related documents to the Town of Rochester Planning Board within 30 days of such filing. All of those items, John Post should be able to honcho for you, or you can do yourself. And Nicole can, if you need to do it yourself, Nicole can guide you in that. This approval is adopted October 14th, 2021 by the following vote. I'll entertain a motion to approve. This
As
read to
amended.
approve the conditions for approval as amended.
I will make a motion to approve the decision as amended.
Do I have a
Second.
Second. All in favor?
I,
Anybody opposed? The motion is carried. So you have condition approval. John just has a little bit more work to do. And then you've got to get copies filed with the county clerk. And he presumably will do that for you, or not, you'll do it. Okay?
Okay.
You're all set.
thank you.
Thanks.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Make sure that Nicole gets back to those maps we gave out is, that's close to what we just started on.
I have that
You
one.
have that. You got that.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the court right application. This is a continued application. Is anybody here representing the court rights? Heather, that be you? All right.
And
so
we have
Right.
Mr.
then Mr. Courtright. How are you, Mr. Courtright?
Hitting yourself.
Good. All right, so let me read this. We haven't had this in front of us, I think, for a while, so let me just read. Frank Courtright, applicant and owner. This is a minor subdivision. It's in the natural resources zoning district. The applicant proposes dividing a 73-acre parcel into 2 parts, one of which will be 8 acres for a single-family dwelling, which will require a special use permit and site plan review upon application for the building permit. So we're just subdividing here.
Right.
All right. And the remaining 65 acres will remain as a mining facility. The parcel is located on Rochester Road in Cohasset, New York. Current use is the sand and shale mine and vacant woodland. The proposed new parcel will be on reclaimed land as an existing well and will need septic. So do we have maps on this? Nicole? Do we have that? Anyone's out? I need one, if you just distribute the others. Share.
But I know that it's, can you just pass that as a
Share.
Thank you.
Mary Lou, do you need to share?
I'm okay.
It's part of.
Everybody got a map?
in the natural resources district.
Okay, so comments that I have.
Okay.
No, just when you go to get your permit, from what I understand.
Did we get the, does new map show the revised, or the sight lines rather, for the driveway?
Yes,
We
It
have on the
does.
map,
Yep.
right?
It's 255, approximately 2 feet above what we need.
5 feet.
So you made it by 5 feet.
Well, we did have to move the driveway a little bit in order to get those.
Just, okay, all right, so you're good with that. Heather, on the short EAF, number 10,
I don't know if I have that on me right now.
you don't have it?
Oh, no.
I think you wrote, Heather, that describe method of providing potable water.
Oh, they have an existing well.
Yeah, and exactly. It should say
It should say. no
to an
instead of
existing
yes.
well. You should change it. And it's, it should, no, you said yes.
Oh, there might have been. Oh, okay.
So if you
Do that
just
in
initial it,
Sure.
and change it.
Great.
Okay. You were working at 10 o'clock at night on it. So I don't have any other comments. Does anybody from the board have any other comments?
I have a comment. On the sketch, the site is a NR zone, not R2 zone.
Right, the lot across the street was an R2 zone. So I had correctly put that in there. But it is an NR district, very similar setbacks. The R2 actually has larger setbacks than the NR.
And another question I have, why lot 2 is not outlined, it's unclear.
Because it's 65 acres.
No, I understand, but here it's not.
It's right here.
It is outlined. There's a whole proposed
The
lot one with a lot
whole-
line to be created.
He's saying.
Oh, the lot two.
Where's the
Two.
lot, right?
We don't always,
We don't
it
care.
shows on the little location map. We have it like this.
Yeah,
all the
but
time.
it's not shown on the location.
This is the entire parcel, the
Right.
blue stipple.
Right.
Is the
I
entire
understand, but
parcel.
Shouldn't you separate what 1, 2?
Oh,
here?
do you want a line on here
Yeah.
showing? Is that what you need here? Because in
And
order to
that makes
have,
sense considering you
Yeah,
can't
but to be
survey the
consistent-
whole 65 acres. So if you put the lot,
Just to be consistent, is usually, shown.
Sure.
I'm not saying increase size of the paper, just showing. them that-
show,
Yeah.
no problem.
Sorry? Any others?
Another question, getting out and looking to the right is completely observed, there is no obstacle.
There's clear sight lines from
It's vacant.
here to there,
Vacant?
and you're looking over the
Okay.
gravel driveway.
Yeah,
There's
if
a
you drive
small
through it,
bit
it's
of,
okay.
Yeah.
vegetation that would need
Yeah,
cleared that way.
okay.
I think that's noted in the conditions that there's going to be some vegetation that needs to be. I'm sorry.
Right,
It's on the
right.
left.
Vegetation, so
I
it'll
think
be-
that one tree was cut down, it was dead,
You got rid of it already?
it's pretty much gone.
Okay, great.
Kind of tall, but we can short.
Is there anything else? Any other board?
You have the tools.
Anybody else on this side? All right, so I think we have everything, and I think we're ready to set a public hearing. So I'll entertain a motion to set the public hearing for this project for November 8th.
I'll make a
November
motion
8th.
to set it for number 8 public hearing.
I can hear you, Mayor.
I said I'll make a motion to
Thank you.
set it for November 8th.
Seconded, Anne Marie,
It's so big.
all in favor?
Aye.
It's weird to hear you.
It's like a sound barrier.
Exactly. I'm like,
Those
this big
panels
wall, this
put up
big
in
wall, I'm
wall.
like, into the back of Pepper.
From now on, a decision's gonna be like, put up sound panels or have Patrick stand it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a
Nice
motion
Slide me down.
and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, great. You have a public hearing.
Great.
All right.
I just want to clarify, special use permit then isn't something that we need to deal with at this
No.
point. It's when
Building
Frank goes for the
Yeah,
building
it's
permit.
It will be,
In the schedule of district.
it'll be in the conditions of approval as a
Mhm.
reminder, but
Okay,
has nothing to do with what.
okay, great. Are there any revisions that you'll need to the map before the, other than
I
adding
think
that
just the
line
ones
to
that-
the?
Now, right here, Fred, you're gonna change.
And eventually change sketch that to.
To preliminary plan.
We don't.
And then
Heather, we need the usual with health, but that'll be part of the conditions of approval.
I think I submitted it the last time. We already have the permit for the septic area.
Yeah, it's in there.
Here too.
It's already approved.
So I think just the things that Serena mentioned, it would be helpful to have on the map thing
Yeah,
that you need a special use permit for the building one.
okay.
Just sell it so the next person knows.
Okay.
And then,
Selling.
and
I
then,
don't
all,
see it.
It's not selling.
and then all the usual map notes, Heather, like if you subdivide again, it becomes a subdivision. I don't have it memorized. It becomes a major subdivision.
We can
Yeah,
make that
I
all
appreciate
conditions.
We can make that all
when that's
conditions. We don't need it on the map.
Conditions, we don't need it now.
Okay, we don't need it on the map.
Exactly.
We don't need it now, we can make it as a condition on the final map.
I don't know that that's how the zoning law is gonna stay. I don't know if you guys revised that in the,
Well, if we ever get to that, yeah.
right? So, you know, they have to follow whatever the law is at the time. Wild.
What a concept.
Okay, so I think you're done.
Great,
For the
thank
next
you.
one.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Night, thank you.
All right, the next project is minor subdivision for Solberg and David Demarest. Hi, you're David, right?
Yep.
That's him.
Am I ready?
So Reginald is the owner, you're the applicant.
Yeah.
Smart, that's why.
No, not feeling it.
Do you have the minutes for this? Just hang on a second. You only have two? I have.
I don't need one.
We don't need them down here in the black hole.
Black hole.
I'll take- Give one to the other side. Patrick wants it.
I got one.
Okay,
I got
I'll
one.
take that one. Thank you. And let's wait for Anne Marie to come back.
Patrick's gonna pretend he can use his computer here. Touching.
Yeah, look at it.
Are we gonna have to separate you guys? Touching.
Warren, that was a rather snarky comment.
Oh, you don't really know my snarky comments. ID snark?
We're just waiting for 10 members to join us. Okay. All right, so this is a project on 232 Dug Road in Accord. It's a proposal to subdivide a parcel that's currently 9.95 acres into two separate parcels, one of 5.6 acres and the second one of 4.33 acres. It's in the R2 low-density residential district. The parcel is flat in the front to extremely steeply sloping in the left, you can see on the map. The subdivision proposes a shared driveway with a 50-foot right-of-way through Lot 1 to access Lot. Proposed Lot 1 has existing single-family residence with a well and septic. Parcel is wooded and is in the top 5% of the DEC listed forest conditions. Contains core forest to the rear of the parcel and is within 200 feet of the Pacoma fly, which is biologically important area. So We have a new map. And this was done by Mr. Post, so we had the same dating problem that we heard from, so we'll have to deal with that at some point in time, like soon. I have a couple of comments, and I think the board probably has some others, but the right of way, the road that he drew from the existing road, which is labeled here as being a stone drive, doesn't really connect with the proposed house, and the proposed house is sitting out there in the middle of the new lot, and this driveway or extension of the existing driveway just doesn't connect with it. It's again hanging out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, we've done, there's been some clearing that's been done there already. I mean, I'm not sure why the road wasn't brought all the way to the house. I mean,
So
we're looking to do like a decent sized parking area out front of the house. I mean, I'm not sure if that's what he was saying.
So we just need the map revised to show that
Okay.
the drive
Ends up
is
at the house.
ends
At the
up
house.
actually onto a road.
And we need it revised also to show where it's come from. Like we see the proposed length of shared drive, but what road does it connect to?
The driveway?
Yeah,
It does show that it's just really tough to see it because of all of
it
the
is,
lines.
I've looked.
No, it's there.
It's just that, yes, it goes into Doug Road there. It's because of
the topography.
because of the topography being so,
Okay, and my eyes getting older and.
but
Isn't that where the house is?
maybe you just label it, say Doug Road on it.
Right, that's, yeah.
But it goes
That's
into
what I
the
mean.
road, it just doesn't say Doug
It's
Road.
got to be labeled.
Right.
So we know where it's going. This is the kind of thing in 20 years, somebody said, "Oh, the road to nowhere,"
Oh, yeah,
right?
definitely.
So we need to update the map.
So
We need,
yeah, it has to show.
We need
that
some
it-
dates.
And a location map.
And we need the location map. Location map is a map of a larger area. It's different scale, but it's got to show where this fits into the larger area, which then probably also show Doug Road.
Okay.
There was also, I'm sorry, I just didn't want to miss this. So when he added the topography onto the map, I don't think he included all of the measurements
There's no.
On the
No,
line,
there are no
there's
elevations
lines.
on
there.
the topography line.
You're getting good.
Nicole, you sent it
Getting
around
really
after
I did,
this, right?
yes.
So don't panic. Cole's gonna send a letter out that lists all these things we're asking.
Yeah.
But that letter already was sent on 9/17.
Well, right, and she'll send another one
Send
after
another
this
one.
meeting.
Okay.
Yep.
It's absolutely right. We thought we'd bring it back here. It's not coming back to this meeting.
Because not everything.
Everything's done.
It's not,
But in deference to the changes between chairs,
okay.
it just resolve it and make it clear that we need those things done. So Zorian is correct. All things were in the previous letter that we sent to
Not the
John.
labeling of Doug Road.
Right.
That's a new
Got
one.
that.
But everything else is there. It also including the overlay zones on here, which aren't here. There's a, I don't have a
So
letter
we got
from-
some of the things that were
Yeah.
asked, but not all.
I get all of them.
Okay.
So,
Let's get a helicopter.
Maybe-
so David,
maybe,
But you,
we'll send another letter out.
we could probably set it tentatively though for public hearing,
Yes,
Yeah.
saying
Subject
if
to
they
that
get
being
subject to the getting these things in.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
November
I'll
8th.
get out of it right away. I'll get a hold of it tomorrow.
We'll get the
Thank
letter
you.
out quickly,
Okay.
and November 8th is 3 Road.
Okay.
So we'll set the public hearing. If we don't get the material, does that create a problem? setting a
You just
public
say
hearing?
contingent,
Yeah,
contingent
definitely
upon getting the
Receiving
materials.
by.
Yeah.
By what date do you want? them
The,
to-
What do we
Usually
used to do?
usually
2 weeks or 1
It
week?
is 2 weeks.
2
Yeah.
weeks.
So
The
we need it in a week.
26th, but before 3, it's on the website before 3:30 in the afternoon on Monday. I think it's the 26th or 27th.
We have to get all these things which are already on the previous letter
Within a
Let me
week.
Look at our.
within a
little
week.
calendar.
Okay.
Let's see.
And John Post is,
So you guys, you want the road labeled and you want the driveway extended to the house, right?
well, we want what we had on the original letter to John
Okay.
Post,
All right.
which he would have gotten 2 weeks.
Was
ago.
the driveway thing on that letter? It was, right?
Yes.
Tell
Us
them to get
showing
with it.
Doug Road,
Okay.
And topo lines,
and it's
overlay zones, it was all in that letter.
Monday, if it's in by Monday, the 25th, and everything's there, then if they're gonna vote to have a public hearing on November 8th. If it's not all there, you're not having a public hearing.
It's an important date. You want to get that.
All right, so I'll accept motion to set the public hearing. Subject to us receiving all the information that we've spoke before by the 25th of October. The public hearing will be set for November 8th. What's the hearing notice has to say, subject to?
Well, the hearing notice isn't going out unless that she gets the stuff in.
Right.
Okay,
The hearing notice, the hearing goes out afterwards.
Would that allow for enough time? Because I know we're,
Well,
we
then,
have to
that's
have
my question to you is, does that give
notice.
you enough time to put out?
It's 10 days notice for the mailing.
All right, so. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do
Yeah.
it.
Should be
Right,
okay.
because that's
Yeah.
14 days. in
I'll make a
advance.
motion to that.
okay.
I'll second it.
Yep, you'll be
All in
okay.
favor?
Aye.
So David, if you want to call it your homework, is to get a hold of John Post. Say, go find the letter that we sent you 2 weeks ago.
All right. I think I have it too.
I'll
Okay.
email you.
I still
too.
have it.
That'd be great.
I'll email you with the
Just get us that
additional.
information.
Okay.
All right,
And mailing is 10 days, not business days. So.
Sure.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Right.
Okay. The next project. Project. Cusack, the Cusack project. Sorry.
Greetings.
All right. Hi, Barry. Who else is joining us, Barry?
Today.
Very nice and easy tonight. Very royal.
Suzanne, how are you? Just coming from a meeting with the Queen or what?
Yeah. I dress for work.
All right,
Watching now.
so let me try to summarize where we're at. If you remember, we met in a workshop meeting at the end of September 27th. And in that workshop, we went over the draft of the, also the conditions for approval. We found it lacking a wee bit, so with the input from the applicants, representative, Mr. Lennon, we made some adjustments. It was submitted to this board about a week and a half ago. You got it from either Nicole or Mary Lou or from both. You got a revised document. Subsequent to that, we received added correspondence from Menon and Eggers, which you have in the package that Nicole handed out. And you also have a red line. So you have this document here and red. Does everybody have that? So what I'm going to do is, and correct me if somebody has a better.
Print out that red line.
I was gonna
I
say,
didn't
yeah.
get it.
Oh, you did?
I have the red line here if you want to make a.
I got it, but I didn't get it until I got here.
Let's make a copy of that.
Copy of this? Okay.
Who wants a copy?
I have one. Does everybody have a copy?
No. I think-
The things that they sent today.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, Liz's comments,
Yeah.
their comments.
I'm referring to a red line done by our consultant Liz to Barry's subsequent comments, of which there are 4, I believe. You haven't seen it yet. So I just want to have that. So if we just wait a second till we make copies. What I'm going to do while she's making copies, I'm going to read through, starting with the finding. And as we get to each of the items with question, what we had agreed to previously, I'll note those. I'll give you my recommendation. My take, but it's up to this board if we want to make more changes. This is the opportunity for the board to discuss the changes that we originally made from the meeting of the 20th, and also to discuss the additions suggested by the applicant and Liz's comments on those changes, my color commentary as to whether I think you or not. So it's the board's decision, and I'm not gonna allow too much except amongst the board. Because I just wanna, we've been through this a couple of times, and I think in the case, we now have a reasonable decision. What I'm doing now is a little bit of a Irish jig and coop dance while we wait for copies from the machine, I suppose.
You could probably start with.
Okay, thank you, Mary, that's a good idea. So have something to follow along with?
No, I think you.
No, I mean, do you have this to follow along?
Oh, the red line one I have,
Right, you have what was sent to you.
I believe
Last
so.
week.
Okay,
Yeah. Yes.
so that was a yes. Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you, Maria. All right, page 3, the findings, this planning board. Number 1, the planning board received a referral and letter of determination for a minor subdivision from the code enforcement officer. Under TORC, the subdivision is considered a minor subdivision regardless of the number of lots. If each proposed lot has sufficient road frontage and does not propose the construction of a new roadway. The applicant, number 2, the applicant to the planning board presented the subdivision map for review. Initial subdivision proposal of September 1st, 2020 was for 7 new lots, 8 lots. Subsequent submission of 11/25/2020 was for 6 new lots for a total of 7 lots. The proposed new subdivision lots are all to have separate driveway access on the road. Let's have one shared driveway. Okay. Is it one of the driveways?
Shared.
Shared. Okay, so I need to change that.
Which lots?
2 and 3.
2 and 3.
I'm gonna change, I'm just gonna mark here that you change it to reflect the shared lots. Barry, what lots are shared?
3.
Is it 2 and 3 and 4 or 2 and 3?
2 and 3. Yes.
Number 3, the parcel in AR3 zoning district. After numerous revisions to the proposed lots, the applicant proposes the subdivision of the parcel located on Ridgeview and Upper Cherrytown Road, section block and lot, consisting of 108 acres into 6 proposed parcels between 5 and 3 acres in size. Lot number 1 is 5.0. Lot number 2 is 5.05 acres. 5.08. Lot 4, 3. Lot 5, 3.04, and lot 6, 3.81, with the remaining 82.58 acres intact as the proposed lot number 7. Finding 4, the existing plat, we're going to take that out. Okay, here we go. Remember. So what is 5 now is 4, and so on down the line. The current, number 4, new 4, the current use of the parcel is a commercial rehabilitation center known as Villa Veritas. The parcel further contains hayfields, wetlands, streams, and woodlands. The proposed subdivision lands are steep sloping, 50% of the lands are greater than 15% slope and contain hydric soils. Several of the proposed drain of greater than 25% slopes that will require grading. New lot 5, new number 5.
You don't have to read the
I don't think you
numbers.
need to go.
You don't
through
need to
that.
read the numbers.
Okay. Town of Rochester, AR3 zone districts, residential agricultural districts. This district is intended to recognize and preserve the high valued ag lands of the town, allowing for low density residential development of a compatible nature. The district is further intended to complement the New York State Agricultural District Program and maintain full rights to farm in these areas. The lands to be subdivided are located in the Ulster County Ag District and contain prime farmlands and farmlands of statewide significance. The County Agricultural District land use encourages agricultural operations within the district of the priority lands and afford benefits and protections to promote the continuation of farming and preservation of agricultural land. In practice, districts may completely farmed idle, forested, as well as residential and commercial. The proposed land is subdivided further contains lands within the FEMA 100-year floodplain FD overlay district and contain a named stream, a stream, the Malacus Creek, and an unnamed tributary stream, hydric soils, Ulster County habitat lands, and are within the Ulster County Department of Health aquifer zone. Planning board discussed preservation of the sensitive wetlands and streams, flood zone lands, habitat lands, and over agricultural lands in the regular public meetings. The planning board noted that the initial proposed land disturbance appears to be at the level requiring a speedies permit. Subsequent revisions lowered the disturbance to 3.6 acres, which is the 5-acre threshold to do with speedies. The applicant stated reasons for the proposed 7-lot subdivision as follows. The lots that were the most pristine and valuable lots on the lands, on the parcel, that she, the applicant, wanted to provide those lots to others who wanted to come here and become part of the town, and that she, the applicant, needed to sell off acres so she could subsidize her business, as there had been an influx of clients at her facility due to the pandemic. She stated she needed only 70 acres, and any help to sell off the 30+ acres would be appreciated, as she, the applicant, needed to make money to accommodate her, end of quote, and that she, quote, did not need to use them for her business, end of quote. Planning board discussed that the proposed subdivision layout appears cookie cutter, and the cookie cutter template does not respect the goals of the comp plan, and that it was not in the spirit of the UC Ag District mandate, as it did not strive to preserve and create parcels that would be readily for ag uses. The board encouraged the applicant to preserve the existing natural resources in woodlands as per our subdivision code and guidelines stated in Tour Zoning Code 125-21 and 125-22. The planning board discussed the preservation of the habitat lands in the regular public meetings of 4/3/2020 and 5/11/2020, and expressed the preference that no development is to occur within the habitat core area. Application timeline, beginning with the initial application presentation at the October 14th, 2020 planning board
Can I
meeting.
just point something out? I just noticed, I think this is the wrong year. Which one?
That's because it's taken so long, Barry. It started in 1842, I think.
Was it really? God, I didn't think I was that old. Like,
Barry, you've been doing this since, I thought you said you've been doing this since the cows came.
1776.
yeah, I think that's the item, which is now item 11, the dates of March, I mean,
Should be
4/13 and
Yeah, they should
5/11
make
were this
2021.
year. 21.
Ah,
They should be 21, not 20.
Okay, that's at the top of page.
Bottom
bottom,
of 4.
item 12.
Bottom
I mean,
four.
it's not 12.
Maybe
Top of 5 on mine, so, okay. So noted. Application timeline, beginning with the initial application presentation at the October 14, 2020. It's a year ago. Planning board meeting, the board consistently suggested alternative subdivision ideas that might A, serve the purposes of the applicant, and B, preserve the sense of lands and create larger lots with more development flexibility due to the environmental and natural constraints of land, the intensity and difficult engineering of proposed, and a difficulty meeting the design standards of Chapter 125, Article 4, General Site Requirements, and Subdivision Design Standards 125-21 and 125-22 respectively. Board alternative subdivision configurations as follows. A, at the 10/14/2020 meeting, the division of alternative portions of the 108 acres that could be accessed by ridge view and were quite flat and had what appeared to be old logging or farm road access that could be reused. The applicant stated that she did not want to explore that alternative. Planning would suggest retaining the town planning held as the applicant and representative stated that they would look around and come back with a more concrete submission. At the 12/14/2020 meeting, board member Maloney suggested a natural subdivision of lands bisected by Upper Cherry Town Road to lot and maintaining the two lots currently known as lots 5 and 6. If Mrs. Cusack, quote, if Mrs. Cusack was just looking to make some money, then she should talk to a real estate agent about selling and let whoever potentially buys deal with all the matters of dividing it if they would so choose. End of quote. Mrs. Cusack agreed that selling the bigger lots would make sense. Board member Jones states that it was not a slam dunk project, quote unquote, and that what had been done so far was great, but some of the material was beyond the scope of the board's capabilities that need to go to CPL, the town's main firm. He said CPL could analyze the code, but it would make more sense to make bigger lots and charge more. Chair Lindstrom said if Mrs. Cusack were to go that route, they could do a natural subdivision for lots 1 through 4 and make it one piece of land. Lots 5 and 6 could be done on their own as they were not as constricted. Attorney Christiana stated Cusack would need to speak to a real estate agent. She added she did not want to run on course and suggested the application be put on pause. Then at 1/11/2021 meeting, Chair Lindstrom stated the board offered the applicant an alternative plan at the previous month's meeting that was a bit easier, but the applicant had sent a written response dated 12/18/2020 via her representative and had decided to stick with the original plan. Given this, the board asked for a more in-depth site analysis and voted unanimously to retain the services of CPL to do a comprehensive review of this subdivision regulations, full EA mapper, and review from their grading engineer. The initial escrow of $6,000 was posted by the applicant for the consultative services CPL. Mrs. Cusack states that she had not expected the application to be so complex and that she had the planning board for guidance. Chair Lindstrom stated that the board had suggested to the applicant alternative subdivision designs that could make the project fit the town subdivision code, but she and her representative had chosen to pursue the more difficult subdivision. Application was not discussed at the February agenda review of the application by CPL and respond to review by Mendenback and Eggers. The 3/8/2021 meeting, CPL provided plans and necessary revisions to the survey plan, and driveway grading, makeup of the stormwater concerns and amendments to seeker that needed to be addressed. Mr. Grasso reiterated his concerns with the proposed. He said, quote, I drove by the property and could see that some need to be taken out, end of quote. Mr. Mendenback to stake out driveway and property for the board to view. The board discussed a site visit with our engineer CPL. Board members Williams and Jones expressed concerns regarding habitat issues and endangered species. The attorney for the town was in contact with the applicant's lawyer and that it will be submitting a list of deed restrictions to establish a conservation area. The planning board received the conservation area deed restrictions from the applicants on April 4th, 2021. In the revised set of 3/22, March 30th, and April 1st, planning board members did site tours and groups no less so as not to have a quorum with an engineer from CPL. With Mr. Mendenback to observe stake locations, driveway access, and driveway locations and grading, proposed structure and septic locations and conservation area. Mendenback, with the input of CPL, observed that the interior boundaries for lots 4 and 5 were close to old stone walls, and the lot boundaries should be moved to follow the old stone walls as Tour Subdivision 125-22A, Section 11, which was subsequently done. Board members and CPL engineer requested subsequent to the visit, significant trees should be marked and marked as to what was retained and what was removed so that the planning board could determine if the proposed would need to be modified to retain specimens that are part of this character or the character of this stretch of Cherry Town Road. The meeting of planning board discussed the application. Workshop meeting 1. The planning board reviewed the response letter of 4/18/2021. Response matrix tracking Menenbach and Eggers to CPL's request for information. CPL comment letter number 3 and clarification. The board concurred that there were remaining engineering details, driveway grading, sightlines, and erosion control that would best be discussed directly between the applicant's engineer and the town engineer. CPL, town engineer CPL, and suggested that they contact each other directly. The applicant was typed as an unlisted, uncoordinated secret action. Roll call vote was held. Motion was made a referral for comment to the DEC, markets, Ulster County Planning Board, and the Department of Health. Seconded by Mr. Williams. Further motion was set to make a public hearing for July 12th meeting. July 12th, 2021 meeting. Liz Axelson of CPL, the town consulting engineering firm, presented a draft secret part 2 and 3 with rationale for part 3, which was discussed by the board, applicant, and consulting engineer. Vice Chair Zarowski made a motion to adopt EAF part 2 and 3 and neg deck. Mr. Pinsky seconded the motion. A roll call was held and a neg declaration was made. Then Madeline Russo of the ECC, Environmental Conservation Commission, shared her thoughts.
Do you have to read it completely?
What?
Do you have to read it completely?
Do I have to read this? Is that what you're asking me?
It's in the findings.
Quote, I would like to submit personal comment regarding those
I
minor
think it's important
subdivisions.
that you say that. I don't know if you said this because at the same time, not that this was her part, it's not represent ACC's opinion.
Thank you.
That she did
I
this.
did skip that effort to move.
And so far, yeah, but that's an important one.
Okay.
So far as the letter, if the board and the applicant,
With the board and the applicant.
I've read it too many times.
I was gonna say. because
Moving on.
There was so many times,
With the board agree, and I think we
you
need
can
to
say
do
letter
that.
as
Yeah.
set forth on
Well-
page 7 of the findings.
Okay,
of these findings.
that brings us to my page 8, which might be page 7.
Okay.
I rather, meeting of 8/9/21. The planning board subdivision layout reiterating a concern from prior meeting. Layout of proposed lots 1 through 4, west side of Upper Cherrytown Road seem to be too constricted, especially given the proximity of proposed lot driveway and grading to the proposed southern lot line resulting from the proposed lot line revision with Filippo. The planning board discussed numerous concerns about environmental constraints at the site on the west side of Cherrytown Road, namely woodland, steep slopes, Malbacas Creek, tributaries, and aquifer area. That the rural nature of this area of the town is based on generally low-density development, regardless of zoning lot area requirements, and the importance of maintaining the character of openness, concern about the number of houses and bedrooms in regard to water consumption and the underlying aquifer, and open lands throughout the town being developed in numerous minor subdivisions. Planning board members observed that proposed lot 1 appeared to have inadequate area for a yard outside of the conservation easement area and might be combined with proposed lot 2 to create a more viable residential lot, more in character with the open rural character of the area. The planning board expressed that while code standards and requirements appear to be met, they have been reluctant to accept the proposed layout in the early stages of review. The layout should have been reduced to fewer lots along the west side of Cherrytown Road. This concern had been expressed at many meetings throughout the subdivision. Number next, the application was determined to meet the requirements of an unlisted seeker action, and a negative declaration was determined upon review. The public hearing was held. The board reviewed if the proposed lot had safe legal access. The board concludes that at all proposed lots, will have adequate 50-foot frontage on a town highway, namely Upper Cherrytown Road. The board and CPO expressed concern with the site distances and density of driveway access along Upper Cherrytown. Grading and sightline clearing will be necessary for the proposed driveways. Due to the sloping nature of all driveways and the probability of runoff and gravel into the town highway with snow removal and rain. So the board requested that all drive aprons be paved as a condition of approval, which are shown on the plans. The board contacted the town of Rochester Fire Department, Accord Fire District, and the Tour Highway Supervisor, who respectively responded that the driveway meets Ulster County Department of Transportation and Tour emergency access requirements. The parcel is in the AR3 zoning district. Upon review, while the board concludes that the proposed seven proposed new parcels meet or exceed the bulk standard requirements for the AR3 zoning district, with the conservation portions of lot 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the highly sloping nature of all the proposed lots for limited area of disturbance, locations for structures are available for lot development. Lot development restrictions shall be a condition of approval. The board reviewed if proposed lots could support water septic. Perk tests for septic were performed by M&E. The planning board received Orange County Department of Health
Ulster
permission.
County roots are showing.
What did I say?
Or-
You know, you could take the kid out of Orange County, but you can't take Orange County out of the list. I am sorry. The planning board received Ulster County Department of Health for permission or permitting that the 7 new lots can support. All right, these are draft findings were prepared by the chair and read and discussed by the planning board in a public meeting.
Change the date.
Adopted 14th, 2020. We vote. I'll entertain a motion to accept the findings.
Aye.
Maren, second. Sorry, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? No, the motion is adopted. Okay, now we have the we had comments from the Ulster County Planning Board. We required to send it to them, take comments. Whereas the town of Rochester Planning Board submitted the application for review under or pursuant to New York State General Municipal Law, Section 239. Whereas County Planning Board reviewed the proposal 7th, 2021, and returned written comments stating some required modifications. First, the Health Department required modification. Approval of the proposed septic systems in their 100% reserved areas of the Ulster County Department of Health will need to be required as a condition of approval. Our response, we agree. And I believe that's so of the plans. Number 2, stormwater comment. Greater than an acre of disturbance has been indicated on the full EAF. Yet a SWIP and erosion and sediment as part of the full statement requirements. Only a typical erosion and sediment control plan was submitted for the board review. Ulster County Planning Board does note that each single family home has been designed with a driveway with a maximum slope of 10% and has had a turnaround included as part of its design for emergency response vehicles. The required modification from Ulster County Planning Board. A full statement should include all the reports and data requested for to make its secret determination. An erosion control plan should at a minimum. And the town engineer as planning board for review. Our response is overruling this required modification. As we know, they know that based on what they reviewed, no full SWIP was required as the area of which was under 5 acres. The plan set version of the sedimentation control plan, details and corresponding calculations sufficient for the basic scope. Ulster County Planning Board modifications are accepted October 14, 2021. We have to vote on this. Is there any comment? If not, I'll accept accept in part and overrule in part Ulster County plans required modifications.
I make a motion.
Seconded.
Anne Marie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So ordered. Okay, resolve. The town of Rochester plan minor subdivision, lot line revision, conditional final approval to permitting region of lands situated at 55 Town Road. Lands in the name of lands situated at 5 Ridgeview Road, lands in the name of Cusack, New York, conveying 0.17 acres of land from Cusack to Faso as depicted on the plan set on sheets 1 of 8 and 2 of 8 is the lot line change. All right. The subdivision plan dated 22nd, 2021, last revised July 26, 2021, is approved. The conditions set forth below for the minor subdivision plans situated at 5 Ridgeview Road. Be it resolved. Have to.
You have resolved.
There's 2 resolved.
Not yet.
Yeah, there's resolved and further resolved.
All right.
Conditions.
For the result. The lot line change and the conditions are all being on at the end of the reading of the conditions. Okay. The town of Rochester Planning Board grants minor subdivision and lot line revision, conditional final approval to permitting the subdivision of lands situated at 5 Ridgeview Road, Huntington, New York. The subdivision plan dated March 22nd, 2021, last revised July 26, 2021, approved with the following conditions of approval. All fees due to the town of Rochester following this act shall be paid in full, plan to chair signature on the final plan. The applicant shall present a final plat for signature. The following plat notes shall be approved. View of the plat notes. The plat is not capable of being split further or so restricted without planning board approval. Quote, driveway access and construction shall be as shown on the final plan. Any changes to location or grade from the approved plan shall require planning board approval. All driveways will have paved aprons installed before
Make that a certificate of occupancy.
a
like Liz
certificate of
said,
occupancy.
Instead of building permit and that.
So if you would agree with that change, I'm going to change that to C of O as opposed to building permit. All right, is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Next one, DEC stream. This property contains a New York State regulated stream pursuant to Article 15, protection of waters of the conservation law of the state of New York. The clearing of vegetation, namely trees, understory, native ground, etc., except for dead or diseased or invasive vegetation, is prohibited within the 100 buffer area of the stream and wetlands.
And that last sentence we should take out.
What is that,
The
Mary?
construction of additional stream crossing access points is prohibited. Well, it's a conservation area and they're not proposing any, so there are no additional, so we should just take it out.
Just line it out. Okay, Rochester Waterway, quote, for the town of, code of the town of Rochester. E, each lot fronting on the main stream in USGS maps shall include 7 feet in depth from the high water mark of such stream. Next, quote, no land disturbance and or tree clearing shall be allowed between October 31st to protect the spring summer nesting habitat of the Indiana bat. There is a
Just a question on that.
Suggestion that be limited to not land disturbance, but just tree clearing.
And I think that it was
That's what
the actual
I think
intent,
that's what it actually
because it
says.
was.
So what we're gonna do is, words, land disturbance and or no tree clearing shall be. Is everybody
Right, in
agree?
the land disturbance shouldn't be that because you can disturb the land, but the DEC does say that you're not supposed to get rid of other vegetation, but like shrubs and ground cover and that kind of stuff, but we can just leave the tree clearing.
So I think the DEC, with reference to fence, it's the trees that are,
Yeah, and there the actual stuff they have in the DC, they say you shouldn't also, so you leave the trees up there. But go in and clear out all of the bushes and that kind of stuff also, but we can just say tree clear. Or something like reference the DEC, or just say reference the DEC.
just add,
Take out land disturbance, say no tree clearing shall be allowed between that, blah, 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 blah. Reference the DEC, actually have a,
Then you can say,
what,
applicant
Verbiage do you
shall
suggest?
comply with all DE regulations.
Right.
all right, so a new
Right,
sentence that
exactly.
says applicant shall apply with all applicable DEC regs
they have like a little flow chart of that.
regarding the protection of Indiana bats. I read,
Right.
And I call it regs and guidelines, because I'm not
Regs
really
and-
sure how they have set forth.
Yeah, I think you're right, the guidelines, they're not actual right.
okay. Regarding protection of Indiana bats. Okay. Next, quote, vegetative clearing in the core forest lands is defined by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation as per the Hudson Valley Natural Resource Mapper shall be limited to the limit of disturbance shown on the plan. Next, quote, trees of a caliber of 24 inches shall be cleared only as indicated on plans setting.
You said that 24 inches and larger, or you just go around and measure exactly only the trees that are 24 inches, and if it's 27 inches.
That's true.
24 inches, yeah, 24 inches, 24 inches and long.
And also, Barry, Liz, back to what you said, this condition shall be amended to allow for diseased trees regardless of size. The removal of dead or diseased trees is in the declaration of restrictions. The plans only identify them to be retained. So this is really talking about the trees to be retained.
We have another.
There's another part
about.
about, yes, of course, you can take care of diseased and dead and falling down trees and not.
Well, it just.
Okay,
this-
how about if we put
Well,
trees of
well, I think that
caliber
was in the
of 24
conservation
inches
area.
shall be cleared only as indicated on plan.
Yes,
Diseased.
perfect.
Does that work better?
And I'd like to add something else, which it says 24 inches as measured at,
Or great.
no, as
Or greater.
measured at breast height. That's the
What
standard.
about in
Yeah,
10
that's the
years?
standard.
Right, so we say it's breast.
They're not measuring the height this way.
Well, 4 feet or at breast height, it's.
Right, I understand.
Got all your 12-foot ones back.
How tall is the
Before they get big.
That's why they say feet or breast height.
Right.
Oh, my God.
Say 4 feet
Why don't they
then.
just say 4 feet?
That's standard, that's.
That
Right,
is the
just say
standard.
4 feet.
4
because-
feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Because then they can say,
And my.
look, it, we have this person
That's
here.
right.
who's-
A basketball, basketball player could be different.
And then you add it unless dead or diseased.
Yes.
Oh, I hope you're getting this between the two of us. We should get it right. I'm getting it, Melissa. Number next, declaration of restrictions. The following activities are expressly prohibited within the entire easement. Cutting or removing of trees and the harvesting of lumber of timber should be prohibited except to the minimum extent necessary to remove trees and land dead, diseased, or dangerous. Next, Excavation or alteration of natural resources within the easement area, excepting for the construction, repair, maintenance, and all permitted uses as reserved by the grantor. Construction or maintenance, deer stands and other hunting related accoutrements. These are restrictions. Creation of any impervious roadway surface and roadway appurtenances except as may be shown upon the filed subdivision block. Storage of any vehicles, tractor, trailer, camper, boat, or other vehicle. Thereof. Placement, construction of site reserve systems, drainage structures, road pervious services, or other improvements affecting surface water or groundwater, other than as permitted pursuant to the town of Rochester zoning law and or subdivision regulations, or as shown in the filed subdivision plat. Prohibition of construction or placement of any structure, placement or maintenance of ashes, trash, rubbish, garbage, yard debris, waste oil, petroleum products, toxic substances, hazardous materials, fill materials, or any unsightly or offensive materials. The easement area shall be managed in accordance with sound generally accepted soil and water conservation practices. No pesticide, herbicide, inorganic fertilizer, or other chemical treatment for land, vegetation, or animals shall be used unless it is done in accordance with applicable laws and regulations. It will not contaminate any water body. Lake holds. The hell is a lake hold?
Traps.
I like all the trap, yeah.
Like
Oh,
old
traps.
traps.
Thank you. This must have been written by a lawyer.
I do not think it was. I did not write this.
Lake
It
holds.
was written by a lawyer,
Our lawyer.
your lawyer.
Connie Bear.
Conibear.
And,
Is that spelled correctly?
what is that?
Okay. And trap of all kinds is prohibited upon the easement
You need to
area.
do more hunting.
See, I never hunted,
Yeah.
at least with traps. All terrain vehicles, motorcycles, snowmobiles, mini and motorized vehicles are prohibited for use upon the easement. Okay, 6, regarding the vertical site distance, number 6 to the right, revise the plans in the town road right of way. Refer to the comments memorandum of 8/4/21, comment B1 and B2. Revise the plans to correct the zoning requirements table so that the lot areas in the row, the minimum lot area consistently match what is shown in the plan view by correcting the area of lot 1 as shown in the plan view on sheet 1 to be 5.09 acres. And by further correcting the area of lot 1 as shown in the plan view on sheet 2 to be 5.09 acres. Next, revise the plan set regarding the proposed stormwater management practices and the size, width, and length of the proposed broad crested weir. On plan sheets 3 and 4, add reference to the soil erosion and sediment control details. In plan sheet 3 and 4, add labels or legend items to specify the types of lines running to and through the dry swale on each line, including the size of said pipes. Highest plan sheet 1 to be entitled Subdivision and Outline Revision. Next, conservation area line. Should be 48-inch witness posts and iron rods at each corner and angle point of the conservation area. Easement witness posts shall be made of durable material that will last a minimum of 20 years. Well set within a stable base, postcrete, etc. Signage indicating conservation easement area and referencing the deed restrictions shall be affixed to each witness post.
That's where we requested.
Yeah, but I think you're, this
Discussion.
is what Liz's comment is here. It is, the condition says referencing, not detailing. There's no need to list all of them. Just,
Yeah.
so you just say,
How about
the
this?
sign might say conservation easement with deed restrictions. That's what the
Yeah,
suggestion.
we'll put that on the
Yeah.
the
Why don't you do
marker. That's
Yeah,
fine.
we're not asking you. to
We're
We're
not
not
asking for
asking
11
for
different
an
deed
entire
restrictions.
We just want people to know it
Yeah.
exists.
Although
fine.
Rick could use it,
Well,
because he'd have to know then what the trapping
That's-
In
stuff
case
in.
of ton of
That's
bear.
fine.
In case there's a ton of
We sent,
bear.
I think we sent them a detail of a,
No, I saw that.
commercially
Did the-
available one, and those are driven
Yeah.
2 feet into the ground, so to put a concrete base on it, everything is really not
How
necessary.
does the board feel about the pictures and everything?
I like the signs.
I look
Yeah,
at, I
they-
look
they're
at, I look
nice.
at those signs, they're only 1 inch wide,
That's right, but they're brightly colored.
but.
You have to remember, there's multiple of them in people's backyards, so you get to a point of sign pollution. And this is land, this is, people are
And
buying
it's a
this,
conservation
knowing they have a
area, like,
conservation
it's
area.
As subtle as possible.
Right.
I like,
It will look
I like
terrible.
what they
People
propose.
will know.
All right,
You're
what
absolutely
about,
right.
what
And
about,
it'll look terrible. It will look horrible if you have the
right,
more
let's-
thicker. It's
What
fine.
it says
Let's wait.
here
Zorian
is,
wasn't finished with this.
oh, I'm sorry.
but I also saw that, all right, because I look at some 4 inches wide. 2 feet in the ground, it's easy to yank it out, pull it out.
Well, you can pull out a piece of concrete too if you want to pull it out,
Well,
but the
but
thing-
also there are,
can I-
there are additional
Can I-
features there, you can have an anchor there. Kind of make it,
we could put an anchor on it like that. It's easy enough to drive in. I could also suggest that you put a condition that the owners must maintain those markers.
It's fine.
You're okay with the
You
anchor?
can add that, but I don't think, I think Zorian is right. I mean, I drive stuff into it all the time, and then I yank it out because I put a fence up so the deer doesn't eat your vegetables. That's, they're gonna be down in 2 seconds. It's being something that
You're talking about
Something that's
putting it
gonna
in
keep it there.
concrete? Is that what you're
So
you
talking
either put it
about?
in post street or you put one heck of an anchor, so you can't.
put in with well set.
I mean,
with a
well said with a stable
anchor.
base. That was
That's
an
fine.
example.
Yeah.
but another question I have, how on that 1 inch piece, you're gonna put all those?
We don't have to put all those things. It
We're
just
not,
says
that's what we're
conservation
saying.
area with deed restrictions.
Right. but
No,
it's-
You don't list the
but-
deeds.
You
No,
don't,
I understand that, it's still 1 inch wide.
Do they make wider ones better?
They strip it down.
Right. Who's ever
Oh,
buying
they-
the
they make
property
it-
will
they
be
make it
aware of
Pretty,
it.
the pretty standard one is 1 inch
Barry,
wide.
does that go
We've used these over in Gardner in a big conservation area.
Do you have wider ones
Quite
that you could
nice.
use?
4 inches.
Um,
you can-
Legally, they have to use wider ones. No,
Yeah,
they just
I
have to use
think
them
they
wider.
are.
No, I'm just from
Whatever you
practical
said.
point, 1 inch, you're gonna.
Yeah, they can use.
How
From
about,
top to bottom, you have to.
do they make 2 inch
they
ones?
make 4 inch.
They make it.
They make 4. What's the cost of the 1 inch?
Don't have the costs. I don't know if that's a,
4 inches, it might have been 2.
All right, so why don't you put the wider ones? I'll leave it to you, 1 inch.
And by the way, I talked to
whatever the
manufacturer.
board's pleasure. I just want to point out too, these are people's backyards.
Exactly.
And, there
I
is
think
such a
the 1
thing
inch
called
is
sign
satisfactory.
pollution.
But they're gonna
You
be,
and there's-
they're gonna be down below in the field.
If
It's
it's
not,
mandatory, the
Alright.
size of the
Well,
post,
they're
I
gonna
don't
be
think
in
All
we
right,
the-
should
so
be
let's
arguing.
put
on
it, let's put it to a vote of the board. First, we agreed to the anchor,
Yep.
right? Everybody
Yes.
agreed to that? We agree that it's gonna say conservation easement with deed restrictions. The question is how wide? Those who want 1 inch,
Question real quick, what's the advantage to the wider one? It's not gonna have as much rain going all the way down?
no, there's no advantage except that it's, looks more substantial.
Easier to see probably.
It's easier to
read.
see. Easier.
That's
Right.
all.
But
It's
these are
still gonna
people's
go
personal
down vertically.
property. I just.
but
think-
there is a hill there, so
All
right, go ahead,
everything's gonna be
Discussion, so
down.
we'll-
Those on top of the hill.
1 inch.
These are all
Who
up on
wants
top of
1
the hill.
inch?
Me.
1, 2, 3. Who wants more than 1 inch? 3. So we're
No,
tied.
One inch, go figure.
1 inch is really
Why don't
small.
we ask the applicant if they're
No.
okay?
I
with
don't care.
Are you okay with
Do
the
2
one?
inch.
1 or 2 inch, I don't think it makes a big
Yeah,
of a
let Mrs.
difference.
Cusack
2 inch.
write it.
Mrs.
Mrs.
Cusack
Cusack
does
broke the tie.
Making it work, thank you.
She broke the tie.
You're
we
okay,
wrote
2
2
inch?
inch.
She
Okay,
said,
there
I
we go.
started here a year ago. I can't believe we're arguing.
Is the 1 inch crew okay with 2 inches?
Yes,
I just want to make
absolutely.
sure everybody's happy.
You know, my
At least
thing is
with
if you're, who's ever purchasing the property, they don't need to have an eyesore at the back.
I agree, right.
So that's
Less is
how I
more, in
feel.
my
Well,
opinion.
they're
But this-
buying this wide open. It's gonna be there before they get there. So they know what
Exactly,
they're getting
so
into.
you're
So
right,
2
you're
inches,
right.
2 inch.
Okay,
It's not
So I'm
like
gonna change
somebody
this to
putting it
say-
in after they're already there.
That's
Before.
point taking.
so I'm going to change this to say, well, set
Right
and
here.
a steel anchor and 2 inches
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a
in
hammer.
width.
No, it's-
But-
With the inscription of
Conservation
conservation easement with deed restrictions.
Probably the conservation.
And then we'll continue with, so that takes care of that. We'll pick up where it says trees can be used as witness posts at the property boundary, but shall also have a conservation easement sign attached, which probably means that you're not going to use trees. Meets and bounds of conservation area shall be included on all parcel deeds, plot plans, and the site plan. Conservation area shall be delineated before site plan signature. Conditions 1 through 10 must be before the plot is signed. 12, before any building permit shall be issued, the following additional conditions shall be met, and pertinent items shall be clearly shown on building plot plans and verified by the code enforcement officer, building inspector.
I have a question here.
Go ahead.
Following additional conditions shall be met. Where's those conditions?
Yeah.
Down below or in the same sentence?
13 through 17.
Down below,
Yeah.
essentially outside of the
It
sentence.
says following additional conditions. We could say 13 through 17.
Copy of.
That was the intent, Mary, when we rewrote
Okay,
this.
yeah, okay, so we're.
Just
in-
checking
what's
on
that
that, right?
13 through 17,
It's
that's
not-
not, numbers have changed.
So you guys have one that's 13 through 17 and we have
No,
one.
no, he
Okay,
just got it wrong.
I only go to
Because
14.
It had to be numbered. Liz had missed some of
Got it.
a chunk of numbers.
Like 13 through
Okay,
17,
so-
yeah.
So we can, I think that, trying to say 10 through whatever it is,
14.
10 through 14.
Okay.
Before I build the
You did have,
Following
you had
additional
the one comment
conditions.
listed twice there too, you know.
10 through 14, what's listed twice, Mary?
Yeah, 11 and 12 are no, they're different.
14 and 15.
Oh my God, you're on 14. We don't.
We don't have a
We
15.
don't have 15.
Subtract.
So 11 and 12 are different at the end.
Well,
Right.
maybe you took it out
What it
already.
says at the end is different.
The first like two lines.
The first two lines are the
are
same?
but the rest of them are different. The following.
Why don't you
lines
continue
follow.
reading, Rick, and when we get to them, we'll look at them.
Okay. So I'm still on 12. Before any building permit shall be issued, the following additional conditions, and we'll have to figure out what numbers they are when we get there. Shall be met, and pertinent items shall be clearly shown on the building plot plans and verified by code enforcement officer, building inspector. Next, all required local, county, state, or federal limits shall be secured for the current and future use of these lands. The next, any and all development shall comply with 124, 21, 120, rather 125, 21, and 122, with specific attention to be paid to 125, 22A, sections 4, 5, 7, and 8 regarding woodlands preservation. No development shall occur within the conservation easement area. Next, any and all development shall comply where we have duplication.
So, Mike, I recommend that we take
They're getting down here.
the
County.
portion, the second portion of number 12, which is some other number on yours, where it says the planning board expresses the preference that development will be limited to the amount practicable within the Ulster County Habitat Corps, DEC, Hudson Valley Natural Resources map or forest land. Take that sentence
Tag it
and
on.
put it on the end of 11,
Tag it.
and then get rid of the rest of that, which is repeat language.
Get rid of 12 and just.
Right,
I
and
gotcha.
just put the last sentence at the end of 11.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So it's no development shall occur within the conservation easement area, and the planning board expresses the preference for development shall be limited, yada,
Yes.
Okay.
yada. So you don't repeat it.
Number next. Plans with soil erosion and sediment control plans shall be submitted for each plot before issuing a building. Lot development include limits of disturbance shall conform to the subdivision plan for each parcel. Any limit of disturbance for a lot shall not be increased from that shown in the subdivision plan without further planning board approval, and any stormwater mitigation is required by the New York State DEC.
And Liz gave us some recommended change language on that. Which I think better expresses what we intended to say, which is lot development, including the area in acres of limits of disturbance shall conform to the subdivision plan for each parcel. The proposed disturbance lot area in acres of any lot shall not increase from that shown on the subdivision plan without further planning board approval, and any storm remediation is required by New York State DEC.
Does everybody see that on?
Yep.
Liz's?
The last.
You know, if you say an acre lot, you're at 7/8, you're gonna hit your 5 acres.
Well, the thing is that our average disturbance right now is only 6/10 of an acre. So I figured, some houses will maybe smaller. And in fact, I think there's two potential people who want to buy the lots who do want to put just 2-bedroom houses in, which will be substantially smaller. And so the likelihood of reaching the 5 acres, I think, is very, very small. So why not give a little flexibility on the other lots? There's certainly room there to, for more disturbance. I suggested an acre because I think that's reasonable, but what if you say not to exceed, say, 8/10 of an acre? Divide the 5 acres by 6, you come up with more than 8/10 of an acre. So if each lot was allowed to go up to 8/10 of an acre, what's that?
But you don't know that either. That's, you're guessing. Maybe a whole bunch of different people turn up and they all want to build bigger houses. Liz's point is very good. You have no guarantee of any of that.
You
have
Well,
no
you got a
guarantee
building
whatsoever.
inspector who's reviewing it, and.
It's
issuing
better to
building
have it
permits.
written in and.
Well,
it's
what I'm
better
trying to
have-
avoid is having to come back before the planning board for every time somebody wants to build a house. And then what is the planning board gonna do if we come back and say, hey, this lot, instead of 6/10 of an acre, there's 8/10 of an acre disturbance?
And maybe they can't build that big a house.
Why? Why would the planning board make that ruling?
Well, we'd have to go through wouldn't be that we would deny it, it would have to go through the 5 acre, if it goes.
You
over
wouldn't-
the
you
5
wouldn't
acre,
know
we'd have
that.
to go through the full
You
square.
wouldn't know that he got to the last house.
That's right.
So what would you do with something like that? Somebody says, hey, I want to disturb it a little bit more.
Hey, you know what? That's your decision.
Right.
I'm just
Well,
saying, what I'm trying to
I
suggest
understand
is
what you're saying.
put a little bit of wiggle room in there.
I think an acre is too much wiggle room. How about half an acre?
No, they're all at 6/10 of an acre.
It's already
I'm
0.6,
saying, I'm saying,
0.6.
if you-
So we should, how about this
so
then?
I'm saying if you did 8/10 of an acre and everybody did 8/10 of an acre, you still wouldn't reach the
All right,
5.
so
Some of them, Rick, if you look at the plan, you can't even do 8/10 of an acre because you
They
have
don't fit.
conservation.
That's not true.
They don't even, they don't
That's,
fit.
Aaron,
Or
that's
you-
not true at all.
You can't have the
That's-
distance away. From the
That's not true. There's plenty of room to build on these lots, and increase the disturbance.
So currently the disturbance is 3.6 acres.
That's correct.
It is five, over 5
Yes.
is a SWIP. That is what. What if we only dealt with the farm on the west side of the property, right?
Well, it's 5 acres for the whole thing.
Why distinguish the 6? There's 4, if that's actually 4 and 2.
I'm sorry, 4.
It's 4 and 2.
So
No, it's-
1.4 divided by 4.
Technically,
Well, so what if you took the 5 acres and
Oh,
divided
yeah.
by
It's a 7
by the
lot.
6 lots? Okay, you come up with like 0.86 or 0.87, something like that. 0.84, is that what it was? All right, and we say no lot should exceed something less than that. I'm suggesting 8/10 of an acre. If you did 8/10 of an acre, you still under the 5 acres.
I see. I think as long as you keep it under the 5 acre limit.
So if they do
Yeah,
under
well-
8/10 of an acre,
You're
I
at
don't
4.
agree. You're in lands that roll, that get down the hill toward, this goes back to what Madeline wrote.
On lot one.
Okay, on lot 1, that it is not, that would be wonderful. It was perfect, it was the Schneiders, it's flat.
Right.
Cut the whole thing up, nothing's gonna be, it's the same Doran was bringing up with the Osterhouse, did you go down there and they tried to dry it out, but you can't dry it out. So now you're getting wiggle room in a place that is highly constrained because of the conservation easement, because any disturbance you're going to have, more driveway, more garage, more house, whatever it might be, is more flowing right into the Mohawks.
But I also think
But
that
it's all within the regulations.
CPO creates a table, puts those numbers there with particular reason.
That's
You know
why
what?
Liz said what she
Right.
said here.
you know what, we've been through this at least 3 different meetings and come up with different, if this, then that. I like the way Liz has described it. I think it'll work. And it's this board's decision, and I appreciate the applicant giving us input with his own decision. And if the board agrees with what Liz wrote, which is you have that in front of you. Then we'll change this to what Liz has, and I think that that's flexible enough. So does the,
I agree with what Liz
without any
wrote.
more discussion,
I agree
we can
with
have this
Liz.
for a while. You agree with what Liz?
Yeah, I do.
Mark? And if you don't, then come up with a solution.
I mean, unless you want to break it down and be specific per lot.
That's what I was just getting
She
at.
did.
I think,
On sheet three and sheet 4.
I think that it should be based on the lot. Like, for instance, on the west side where it's all open,
Right.
there's not going to be as much disturbance because it's already vacant and it's already, let's call it log and go, okay? On the other side, up the hill, maybe there shouldn't be as much disturbance allowed because there is significant density there. But you're adding more restrictions now per lot rather than the per.
And we're not gonna get this, I mean, it's okay.
Right,
We're not
per
gonna get it
division.
done tonight.
No, I'm just, in my opinion, I think on the vacant side, having more, Maren, correct me if I'm wrong,
I
that
think what we're
it's already
looking at
done, if
is
that makes
When
sense.
are we gonna get to that 5 acres and making sure we don't get there?
Maybe
we
just
keep
put a
saying, oh,
limitation on the
4
other
lots
side.
Or the 6 lots or the, right.
Maybe
but
we
if you
just put a limitation to the
To the
more
west
dense
side,
side.
yeah.
Okay, so you have it on the west side. What if the east side already put all those disturbed north?
Right, then you are.
Then you're above your 5 acres.
Exactly.
Then we gotta go with what Barry said and have just a cap of,
That's what
And
seems like
point
it's,
eight
But that's
would
essentially
be
what
too
Liz-
that's what
much.
Liz is doing.
but
That's
she's not
what
doing it
this
per
is.
lot.
Yes, she
doing it as
does.
a- as a-
Yes, she
Yes.
does. She
She says
specifically
if the
says
lot
there is a
goes
table
over-
on sheet 3 and sheet
It
4.
does,
there are
yes, it
tables.
does. It says lots
What's on the
development
plan?
shall include the area and acres of
Disturbance
the
per
limit
lot.
shall conform to the subdivision plan for each parcel, as already said 3 times. So it does do it for each lot.
which would be the 0.6 number that we start.
Exactly.
Yeah.
3.6.
Yeah, because you're
Exactly.
talking- You know, as much as we really think of this as there's 6 new lots,
There's really 7.
there's 7 lots.
Right.
So if you did, 0.8 total disturbance.
You're over.
Well, the 7 lots already,
5.6.
the 7 lots already being occupied, and if they did, anything there, that would be a whole new application and probably a full swip.
But it's part
So
of,
It's part of this.
All
we
right,
didn't
so
require.
the question on the
because of
table-
Disturbance.
I think that in that, situation, as it being 7 lots, we need to keep it at the 0.6.
So we
the
keep it at what
question on
Liz
the
said.
table-
We're right,
Correct,
right.
but if we're gonna consider this a 6 lot, because there are.
No, it's a
6
7
but
lot.
it's
It's a
7
7 lot.
lot
So you
Does
were
that make
with
sense,
Liz,
Barry?
you were with
Over the
Liz,
cap.
you were with Liz,
Fine.
I with Liz.
0.
That's 4.
Point of order.
Hang on a second.
I want everybody to, we need to close the discussion. No
It-
more if, no more wherefores.
I want to make a note that in the application it doesn't show on lot 7 any
Not
Future
now, but it's
disturbance.
Part of the subdivision. Right, and so the 5 acres includes lot 7. Notation, right? So I asked who agrees with what Liz suggested. I do,
I do.
Yeah,
I
no, in
I
that
mean, Liz
situation.
did her homework on it, so, I mean.
Maren, Patrick? On?
Yep.
Okay, so that's what goes. We'll change it to what Liz has. We have to end this.
There's, I don't even want to bring this up.
Then-
I know. Do we need to get a shared driveway agreement for the 2 houses?
I
that
thought we
have a
had
shared
one.
driveway?
Oh, you need for lots
2 and 3. I thought we had one.
I don't even
I don't,
remember.
I don't,
We
I
made
don't
that
know.
one.
I have no idea, but I don't remember seeing one.
Barry, do
So-
you remember if we got one?
What are you looking for?
A shared driveway agreement
Shared
for lot
driveway
2 and
agreement
3.
for 2 and 3.
Well, they're basically, it's
Shared
shared right on the
apron.
property
It's a shared
line.
apron.
So it is a shared apron, but they can each contain
I
their
don't
own
think
little
we're-
piece.
We're
I
not
don't
like
really
going
need an
through
agreement.
one, get to the
But
other.
if you.
No,
if
it
you wanna
literally
do
Where we
goes-
need
I
like
told, I
a
was
right
asking,
of way.
I was
Yeah,
not
no,
suggesting, I was
think we're
asking.
okay. They may want one between them,
Which is
but we don't
Done.
care. They both access.
Done.
That's the
Moving
way I
forward.
look at it.
Moving forward.
good.
All right, so on
I can
that
see it.
last item,
Right,
depending upon which one you're looking at, it has different numbers.
right, right.
So on that last one, we're gonna reword it to go with Liz's verbiage, where it says lot development including the area in acres of the limits of disturbance shall conform to the subdivision plan for each parcel. The proposed disturbance per lot area acres of any lot shall not be increased from that shown in the subdivision plan without further planning board approval. Any stormwater mitigation is required by the New York State DEC. Over and done with, that's.
And then up in number 9, it will now say, in 10 through 13, conditions 10 through 13.
10 through 13, okay.
And you're combining
I'm combining.
11, or whatever the heck.
We got rid
they
of
are.
12.
You got 12 and the last line.
I have that
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
We'll get that. Nicole and I will
Alright,
fix
that's
that
good.
tomorrow. Maybe.
Almost there. Exactly, we're almost
Or-
there.
or like
Or
it's
maybe,
tonight.
or maybe you'll take a break.
Okay.
Roll and we'll fix it.
I said we're almost
Maren, you
there.
promised to give me your hammer.
No, I didn't. That, you're making one. You made it for me.
The conditional final
You do.
approval
You do.
shall expire
You do.
180 days from this approval date unless the final plat is presented and signed by the chairman. This period may be extended for 2 additional 90-day periods upon application to a resolution by the Town of Rochester Planning Board. The Town of Rochester Planning Board further grants minor subdivision, lot line revision, conditional final approval, permitting the subdivision of lands upon the satisfactory completion of the conditions of approval 1 and 2, and grants the authority to the chair to certify that the conditions have been in review, sign, and date the plat without further resolution at such time. Effective approval, number 1 and 2, the owner shall file in the office of the Ulster County Clerk such approved plat bearing the chairman's signature and any other related documents within 62 days. Approval shall be deemed to expire without further notice in accordance with New York State Town Law, Section 276. Ability return 3. Ulster County Clerk certifying copies of the final plat and any other related documents to the Town of Rochester within 30 days of such filing. Adopted October 14th, 2021, by the following vote. Those in favor?
Well, let's have a motion first.
Oh,
A motion.
I make a motion to
Mark,
accept,
As,
Mr. Grasso.
except
written.
as amended.
accepted as amended.
With the
I
wording
will
amendment.
second that emotion.
Second and a motion. Now, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Okay,
Now it's passed.
motion carried.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Good
You
luck.
care. You
We're gonna
care.
miss you. I don't know.
I'm
We're
gonna
have
good luck.
Thanksgiving
Yeah.
with you.
Thank you.
Listen, you may come up and say hi.
We'll still be here.
Be
if you
honest
wanna
now, you're not gonna miss
drop
coming
in.
here.
Yeah, you're kind of like
I was just gonna
automatic.
say,
I've been dismissed.
You're not gonna be back.
I want to thank you for caring so much. And obviously, this is special land. And I'm very grateful.
And hopefully the people that go there are gonna be wonderful people too.
I'd like to set up
We
a
have great
scholarship
neighbors.
and for the town planning board, a scholarship in honor because of the work and the care that you do. There'll be a scholarship at the villa for a county resident and named and for the Rochester Town Planning Board. Okay.
Oh,
An
beautiful.
appreciation
Thank
for
you.
all the
Thank
work
you.
that you did.
That's very thoughtful.
That's
Thank you.
very.
You
that's
know what,
very
in addition,
thoughtful.
Ms. Hughes, I would,
Excuse
could you
me?
have a separate room for me to?
Yeah, we always have a room for anyone here.
Yeah, you're a doll. Thank
You
you
can
so
come
much.
to the weekend, if you want. It's like a hotel, really. We had 40 years, October 9th.
Yeah.
91, my husband and I signed on the dotted line. I know people coming, but I just wanted to let you know, we're here 40 years, October 9th, and it's really good to be in this county. And I really admire how much you guys care to spend all this time. Thank you, and we will treasure our land. And thank you, Barry. And-
And I hear all your hits on the NPR almost
Oh,
every
I'm
day.
glad, okay.
Oh,
We're getting
thank you
people
so
coming in.
much.
My nephew Ken, thank you.
Thank you, Ken, for putting up with us.
All right.
Thank you.
One in between.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Okay.
Have a good night.
I think we could use a 10-minute break.
Five?
Five.
Bye. We've got
Five, we're close to the end. Five. Here we are. All stuff we discussed already. Yeah.
Okay, you're right.
I'm glad that we can have these healthy discussions and about everything. It's good, I'm glad.
And I have to let you guys know. In November, a year ago, that my cousin, he was never in Veritas, but that's where they asked for donations to be made.
Yep.
Because they think highly of it. And I didn't want there to be any like weird conflicts, so I can
Yeah.
finally make that my donation.
But can I just
I
tell
told
you,
my
they
my brothers and sisters,
Until
I
it's
said,
done.
don't think that I was like a jerk and not making a donation.
Please don't remind you, to take a grant amount to do this, that's what. Always $10,000 to $15,000, just really. but they don't refuse anybody. There's certain criteria, like you have to be sober for it. Really are. I mean, in the city, that's what they talk about, it, you going up to the villas. And I know exactly what they're saying. And they help. It's more of a higher end rehab. Yeah, 40 years.
This gentleman are next, right?
You're still here. You're still here.
That congratulations.
Yes, that's a good idea. Snacks?
I was just gonna say.
Because I always wanted to steal the after school program.
Oh, good. Okay. We'll have to write. So we might need to let folks know if they need to sit in. Congrats. Thanks.
Yeah, because that, you know. Well, having people, no trespassing signs, like right on the property line, and just staring in the faces. So I can only imagine there's posts like in your yard, basically. But it's gonna be annoying. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, that's why, you make a really good point. That's why, it's a low concrete something.
Well, a wood post would blend in a heck of a lot better. Those that go straight.
Barry, a suggestion was made to make sure those plastic gizmos are natural color, so they're not annoying.
What do you mean natural color?
Well, it looks like wood twigs or
Jesus,
something.
Mary. Also, would you leave
No.
my- Not pink.
We don't want hot
Not
pink.
pink. Don't
They come
pay
in
attention
white,
to him.
Yellow, red, blue.
White sounds
They're
good.
supposed to be markers. You have to see them. Don't worry about it. All right.
It's not, the decision is made, whatever color you want.
I was thinking of
Suggestion, but
Let me get
It's like
along
phantom
now.
limb.
can we order pizza?
Like what?
Like phantom limb.
Do we have maps for
It's just
Richfield?
I only have two.
Isn't that the
Okay.
project?
This is for the next one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Do you have a set for me?
You like this one?
I would.
We're almost there.
Right there on the drive.
Is this the
Oh, I had
project
the
that we
same
asked
last
for a few additions?
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So,
Yes, we just haven't received that.
film.
I do have a color copy of the PDF. And it was really
It's only
small.
being shown to the break roads.
This is one set. Okay.
Over 4
I
years.
recognize it. Are you folks here for Ridgeview or? Okay, why don't you join us?
At 6 o'clock, there is a.
Yeah.
The board will be here shortly.
5-minute recess, well deserved.
If you're comfortable taking your mask off, I think we're all.
I was
okay.
exposed to someone who was someone who was exposed to someone who was positive last week. So for the board, I think it's appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to speak up.
I appreciate it.
Right,
I was supposed to go somewhere else.
enough.
And so you must be the attorney?
I am the attorney. Couldn't tell by my attorney
I could
suit.
tell. by- Attorney suit.
We all
Tell
have
my-
an attorney suit.
Come on.
I don't.
Oh, we all have.
And the gentleman with you.
Surveyor.
Chuck Holtz, the surveyor. I'm Chris Coleman, the attorney.
There you go.
We're back
All right, we
live.
all back?
You have anyone who's?
No.
I had to go to.
Shit, we went outside for food.
What happened?
There wasn't any.
We were hungry.
We were hungry, but there was no
No
food.
food.
Oh, you still have dinner?
Cashew, what time is cashew?
I stole those from the airport.
Couple meetings ago.
Exactly.
All right, what are we on now?
We're on Ridgeview.
So much
Ridgeview, here we
stuff
go.
here because we have
Scully.
Liz's new comments.
4 or 5 minutes.
We're not.
Oh,
We have a comment?
She sent me comments.
Yeah.
She did?
Yeah.
Did, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these are the new ones.
It was great. It looks like it's called Saratoga.
Yes, that's what we
I'll
say.
let you know that. Oh, we do.
I know.
Thank God.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay, Patrick, you ready? All right, so let me bring the board back to order.
Sorry.
Order in the court. Has anybody read the multiple disorder report?
Organized confusion.
What?
Never mind.
Sorry, we were having.
There's a great disorder report. It's got all sorts of
They gave me a copy years ago.
crafty sayings.
Very funny.
Okay,
My husband.
court's in order. I mean, the court is in order. All right, so we have Ridgeview. We have two representatives from Ridgeview with us tonight. Would you both identify yourselves?
Christopher Coleman, McCabe, Coleman, Vitos, and Patterson, 42 Catherine Street, Poughkeepsie, New York, on behalf of the applicant.
Okay.
Charles Holtz, I'm the land surveyor.
Okay. And so the gentleman who's missing is your engineer.
Chris Lucero,
Chris
yeah.
Lucero, okay. And our planner is also missing tonight, unfortunately, because we had switched from Monday to Thursday. I was hoping she'd be here, but in any case. So just for the board, for the record, we received, Liz sent out the first letter for this project back in June, on June 20, 2021. We received responses from the applicant on September 21st, 2021. A lot had to do. That explains the large gap in June and September. So during the course of this, they put together whole new set of plans and much of the material that we had asked for through Liz's letter. Liz then responded to their September 21st letter with her own submission, which you should have on the drive, of October 11, 2021. It was quite extensive. And I'm sure that you haven't had a chance, I'm sure you had a chance to read it, but you haven't had a chance to respond. So we're going to need a response to her letter, which as I look at it, is comprised of stuff from the previous letter, clarification on the map. There are some issues there that we might be able to get into tonight if you wish. But I just want to summarize what I read, and if the board had an opportunity to go through Liz's latest submission, correct me if I missed something that you felt was very important, so that the applicant can either respond or take it back. We just need a little bit more complete plans that incorporate all the comments that Liz made with various notations. You had a detailed cross plan or cross plan of the rises in the road, but they weren't necessarily, the reference points weren't necessarily transferred to the more detailed map. As I wish she was here, so I'm interpreting what she told me was missing. Stormwater management practices. She made quite a number of comments about those practices. So for example, the road itself that connects three of the lots, and therefore three of the homes, is about 1,850 feet long. And so her comment was, as I understand it, that along that road, surely there must be a need for some sort of stormwater retention. The long road, it's sloping down towards the town road. So the concern is, what have you done to ensure that we're not getting washout from this long road onto the town road? Need for ponding along this 1,850? Is there a need for swales going underneath the road, or culverts under the road? So, and she has detailed comments about
I think Chris addressed all that stuff with the, that was all graded out.
On the last set of plans.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of it, since she's not here, I'm going to suggest that she and Chris get their heads together.
She does say in this letter that grading plans need to be revised to include some more information.
But some of the information that she says is missing is actually on the plans.
Okay, so I'm going to have to ask you for Chris to catch up with her on Zoom, whatever.
Okay.
All right. We need the wetlands report. That was done. I know the wetlands were delineated, but we need the report. There's reference to the report. We don't have the report, so we need the report. And she goes on, and there are other comments she made about the wetlands, so that's what jumped out at me. There are overlays that are requested in our subdivision code 25-12, 125-22. But there are lots of overlays that we requested. For example, steep slopes plan, Ulster County Cohasset lands.
I think that one's.
I think that was on there,
That's
Maren?
the darker.
Yeah, the core habitat.
The core habitat,
Okay,
that's the darker part of the steep
Yeah.
slope, there's no steep
Not
stuff,
there.
but the habitat is there.
Okay. She mentioned that there's not an existing conditions plan sheet, question mark. She made a couple references to that.
It's vacant land, it's vacant land.
Is there a separate sheet that shows it's vacant land with the,
My subdivision, basically, it's my subdivision plan.
okay,
I mean, you know, except for the road that goes up there and the proposed, or the house locations and septic locations, that's what's out there.
so again, I'm gonna have to chat with her.
Okay.
And then there's a comment here about, and you heard quite a bit, trees of 24 inches or better. I know you did respond to that, or Chris or you commented that
Chris
there are
did, yeah.
no along the roadway of 24 inches or better. No reason not to believe that that's true. But I'm probably going to want to walk it. So what we're requesting is that roadway be staked so that when the board does go out there, we can easily follow the road. And I guess it's some sort of a woods road to begin with. But if you take that woods road, and we're concerned with the trees 24 inches or better.
Is there anything else that the board wants staked, so I can mark it all in the shot?
It's almost like it's a level.
Are the wetlands staked?
The wetlands are flagged.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
flagged.
Yeah,
It's staked,
yeah.
they're flagged,
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
Very
they're
good.
flagged.
Okay, so
No.
we,
Do you have home sites already staked or proposed stakes?
So
What are your
the
thoughts?
home sites are just possible locations. There's nothing.
Right.
You know,
Okay. They're
So-
not 100% determined. You'll figure that out once. That's
no,
done.
it's up to, you know, even the septic has been done. We have septic approvals.
Right.
From the Board of Health.
Yep.
So where the septic designed, those are actually approved sites.
Okay.
Whether somebody buys those
And
lots
moves the
and
house
decides
up.
to use them,
Right.
Sure.
that's up to them.
But the
But
proposed one is septic ready.
yes, and we have, actually,
Yeah, there were permits.
Yeah, that permits are in.
Perk test, yeah.
Yeah.
we have the. I have the letter that's.
Does the board have copies of the Board of Health approvals and the,
You do have
Yeah.
file.
and driveway approval as well?
And the driveway approvals?
from the town,
The highway.
The highway superintendent permits?
no, we don't
No,
have
we have not seen that.
you know what? Okay, I'll take it tonight if that's it. Yep. I'm gonna Give this to you. Thank you, Nicole.
And you have.
Yeah, the DOH stuff is here, yeah.
And Chair, do we require on a shared driveway 100 feet an area for pull off?
Yeah, they
Those are
have them
there.
on there.
Okay.
It's on there.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We do need a shared driveway agreement.
RMA, yeah.
No problem.
We'll need that. That'll have to
That's-
be reviewed by our
That-
attorney.
Yeah.
I think we have a template for that.
Do you have a template you prefer I use?
There is a
Nicole
template.
does have a template.
Nicole
Can
can.
you
I can
email that
send
to
it to
me?
you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
do that.
I'll have to recreate.
Um,
And I swear to God, there was an
So-
existing,
Where?
disappeared.
What existing
What are you
one?
Way, well, when we were talking about existing conditions, you know, she wanted existing
Right
conditions
here,
map.
number 4 on.
Yeah, but way back when you guys first came, it showed like the land with the lot line, because you have to do a lot line, maybe.
Lot line revision first.
A lot
Doing
line
the lot line
revision
improvements
first, and in that lot line revision piece,
That's right.
you basically have nothing.
It's,
So there is an existing condition somewhere.
For the lot line improvement.
even the subdivision map that has, it shows the line that's being deleted.
Yeah, because way back when, at first when you gave it to us, they didn't delete the lines on deletion, but I don't know where that was.
Yeah,
You
but
probably
the-
have a copy of it sitting,
Yeah, but even the current one, I mean, the one that was submitted,
yep.
that's the existing condition. It's vacant land.
To be removed.
And there's just one line that goes through it right now that says to be removed.
That, right, because it is a lot line improvement.
So I don't know why,
Application and a legis-
What are we supposed to do?
I don't know.
If she were here, she would tell us.
Right.
I think what you just
We'll confer with her regarding.
confirm, but
You're gonna have to- sure.
just erase out in magic survey land. Erase the road and the houses and stuff and just show that piece of land without proposed anything. And that's existing conditions, which is,
The two lots. you-
there's the. types of-
Yeah.
But what's the point? I don't understand
I
that.
don't know.
We will have our engineer confer with her directly, see if that's really a
Well, you know,
requirement.
the
That's
other
what
thing
we
is-
report.
That sounds like an
In the
excellent
course of
idea.
sending us a response back to her latest letter, you simply, I'll certainly confer with, look, they've explained it enough, we don't need this.
Yeah,
So that's why I
I'm
really,
a little, yeah.
I need a response back from you. So just
That's
every
fine.
item, it says, we agree, we'll do it. We don't agree, here's why. It's literally what it. what
We'll go
needs to
through
be.
it point by point. and
Okay.
Just point by
Provide a
point.
letter that way.
Yeah, I can, if I. Here's my markup, which is all over the place.
I
It'll
think
take
if,
us-
if we can hit the high points tonight in
It would
concept
take
and
us
then
3 hours
re-engineer,
to go through it.
let's not. If we can hit the high points tonight in concept.
Sure.
It's a long drive.
I'm looking at the clock over your head, I can see it.
Did you bring snacks?
Not for everybody.
Mrs. Cusack has her room ready. for me.
That's right.
I heard that.
And again, I apologize for not being here, but this is possible to get here.
Our engineers.
I
not here
guess
either.
here's something on the lawyery side of it. She did mention perhaps doing like the previous subdivision that took a conservation area or marking. So you would address that, whether yes, he wants to do it or doesn't want to do it.
Where's that?
Is it number 5 or 6?
It is actually a page.
8.
Page.
As per our
Yeah.
comments, is recommended
two,
the plans
number
land
8.
conservation area, which with steeply sloped wetland and wooded area and Ulster County habitat core lands, blah, 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 which are avoided by a more efficient layout, provide narrative about what protections may be proposed for such a conservation area boundary as far as development use. So that's a different person than a surveyor or engineer to address.
So that one, Mr. Lawyer, I'm sorry, I forgot your first name.
Coleman.
Chris, Mr. Chris.
Chris is fine.
Chris.
Mr. Chris was what my grandfather called me.
Mine is Rick, my father called me Rich Man.
No, that's good.
So that one, Aaron brought that up, the idea of having the conservation that this board believes very strongly in subdivision code, not that you have to do it, but one of the 125 subdivision code is woodlands highly, and this is a woodland habitat on the Ulster County map. And the applicant would agree to do something in the way of a conservation easement. It
Or
would
just a conservation
Oh,
area.
area.
His area is less.
It would allay the fears of this board that critical habitat would be further as time goes on. So I heard the lengthy discussion that we had, was part of the original discussion with the previous applicant before us, Cusack, to protect that area that involved the Mombacus and stream, what we knew to be areas with endangered species. So we'd like them, your applicant, to do the same thing.
And if you consider it, start thinking about what size those poles would be right now.
Exactly.
And if they're gonna be anchored in
Exactly.
or concreted or.
Swatches for your poles.
So spirit
And
of
You
Chris.
got the steep slope stuff.
Yeah, we got the steep slopes. Chris, in the spirit of answering each one of these point by point, again, we agree, we don't agree, is what we don't agree, that's the way to approach this.
Yes, I think so.
Much of it is repetition, it looks like. She
I
says,
see some
as
of
per
that. A great deal of
se.
it is repeated from the first document
Exactly.
and that we've already done.
but we'll go through that and note those as well.
If you've done it,
Right.
then just say you've done it. I will check it, but she's the expert. And,
Again, I think if conceptually we can hit the high concern, but tonight,
that was the high.
that would help
those
drive.
were the high points, unless the board, those are the high points that I pulled out. Does the board have any other high points? they
Yeah, that was
pulled out?
one, you said one that I had, which they did all the wetland delineation fine, but just attached to the report also, so Liz can review that and. do that.
Oh, well, the stormwater on that. She references getting awfully close to the 5 acres.
We're 4.2, I believe.
I thought it was more like 4.7.
4.7.
It was 4.7.
Right.
So, again, the elaborate discussion we had previously about, so when we get over 5, and limits of disturbance become necessary when you're starting to get close to 5. So we have no way of knowing. Maybe right now your estimate is 4.7, but that's a hop, skip, and jump to 5, and we're going to want to protect our right to ask for full SWIP.
Respectfully, I listened to that conversation, and I think there was a fundamental misunderstanding of that led to that discussion going on so long, and also it came in terms of how difficult the time the board had trying to understand how to deal with it. This is a subdivision request. It's not a site plan request. The board's obligation at this point is to determine the subdivision, what is the disturbance. Later on, there'll be site plans, and the board will deal with that in connection with what's going to happen at that time. There's no way for the board to know now or where the houses will be actually situated, how big the houses will be, what will be undertaken in terms of a particular site plan. And by conflating those two, I think that's where the board got in trouble.
The other one, they had actual house. They
Okay.
had envelopes.
So
they've
here,
done
so here, I just,
that were
my
in
point
the-
though, right, and here we've got vacant land. To the extent that there's a 4.7 acre disturbance on the subdivision, it's below the 5. I think that's the end of the inquiry. Well, later on, when the lots are dealt with site plan, they come back before you, you're going to deal with that at that time, depending on a particular project. Just as he pointed out earlier, the septics are proposed. They could be relocated. The house sites could be relocated, the size of the house. This is all, for purposes of subdivision, this is what we can do now.
Yeah, that
We
4
can't-
point, yeah, that 4.7 includes the houses and septic and the driveways.
As-
So I have a question on that
Right.
topic. When you develop this land, you're gonna bring the road in, the driveways in.
Shared drive.
And then the lots are gonna go up for sale, you're gonna develop, build houses, whatever the situation. At that time is when you'll determine.
When someone comes with a site plan before this board and says, this is what we're proposing to do, this board is going to have the opportunity at that point to look at a specific plan and make a
I
determination.
guess my question is,
You can't
you
do
don't
that
plan
now.
on doing that? You guys are not.
Whether he
Fine,
does
okay.
or not, it doesn't really matter. What happens today is we're looking at a subdivision. Does that meet the criteria and does that get approved? The site plan comes back, crystal ball, we don't know what's going to happen. down the road.
We don't.
And I think,
You don't come back
well, I'm
with
sorry,
site
the
plan.
building inspector in this. case.
Building
Let's get that right, I'm
inspector,
sorry. Right, at that point, the building inspector make that determination, but that's where that gets done, not here. Division application.
But they would need to have a number, the building inspector, would you have a number for each lot? Or kind of
Whatever the
keep
plan
people
is at
track?
that point, someone's gonna come and say, here's my plan. And go to the building inspector. The building inspector is gonna look at everything, make a determination as to what they're gonna do. That gets dealt with. Here, we're just dealing with the subdivision of the land, and we can do so much here. We
Right,
can't
but-
look into the future.
but
and-
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it wasn't one lot. If it was there's one lot, the building inspector can track it. But if you have too many, multiple lots, how is the building inspector going to track somebody in 2 years because of that lot?
How could the board do it now?
You know what?
You understand my point?
I understand your point. I'm not going to say I agree or disagree because I'm not a lawyer. It sounds like it's a final point. I would say, if you would, is that the issue that I see is each of the site plans that are submitted to the building inspector. Some total of them over the course of a year as these things are built might exceed the 5 acres, and it may not be caught by the building inspector. So you're right about, and of course, would have been, could have been, should have been, but you're right about the previous plan had the site already marked up with houses. and
Council
everything
pointed
else.
that out, yes.
So I think what council would probably like to do is to consider what you've said, and we'll let you know how we want to handle that.
Of course.
All right, so neither agreeing nor disagreeing.
Understood.
I hear your points.
Yeah, and to be fair, it could also be less. We have no way of knowing, this board has no way of knowing now and shouldn't be in a position of making that determination and guessing any numbers out. The attorney was sitting back here, made a joke about 0.084 or whatever, because it's not knowable.
I am not an attorney.
She's
an engineer.
Sorry, like one, sorry.
She's an engineer.
But of course, it's not a knowable number.
Ask Barry.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a promotion. I think it may be a demotion.
So I
But
hear,
again, it's somewhat arbitrary, and this board should be in a position of making that determination now because it really can't. And then if it's against an
We've
applicant.
got your point. We'll take a look.
I don't want to be around.
No, but it does make sense what you're saying, so.
I don't want you to, because I've
All right,
been known to be.
those are
things
the
into
high
the ground
points.
also.
Those are the.
Can you tell me what portion, so between the road, you already have things on the map, you have the roads in there. You do have proposed septics that may be moved around, but you have the size of the septics. And I think you said you have the proposed houses marked. No, I think you do have proposed houses.
Yeah, Chris has got proposed house location.
You have the locations, but it's just meant to be the location.
But it's to demonstrate, that stuff is to demonstrate to the planning board that these are buildable lots.
So the
That's really all it is.
The 4.7 is what of the things that you have on the plan?
So the 4.7, it's the driveway,
Right,
the driveways, the house, and the septic.
okay,
That was 4.7
right.
on all the lots.
So how about with any acreage for the lot, for the houses, since the house, what you assume, a 5,000 square foot house? or-
Usually, most houses are usually, typical house sizes, 35 to 60, 35 feet by 60 feet. You just kind of,
Yeah.
you just kind of pick a number and then you just go, there it is.
So it'd be more or less.
You could also have somebody that buys 2 lots and only builds on 1.
Sure.
You could have that too.
That's
very common.
So,
Okay, so we'll take it into consideration.
Take it under
Yeah.
advisement. As the lawyers would say, we'll take it under
We didn't
advisement.
get to 5 yet.
Yeah. There's no crystal ball, so.
Okay.
It's more a process question. How is this, what is done? But we'll move on.
No, we appreciate that.
To the point about the SWIP, and the SWIP, of course, is a hell of a lot complicated than just a plain stormwater management practices.
Sure.
Swales. So if that's there already, fine.
Yeah.
But that, you need to talk to her. About. You must have missed it, or the terminology, her terminology, and maybe the way I'm explaining it.
I like, Chris gets to, that's a Chris thing.
That's
It's not a surveyor thing.
That's really good. You don't get outside of your wheelhouse. That's unusual. I'm always acting as an attorney when I should. Okay.
I think that's it.
Those are the high
That
points.
is the high points.
Anybody else have anything? But those are the high points.
In fact, there's one other point which better, worse for bats. You mentioned the bats in the applicant as well. I could send counsel the DEC position on that. I could read it to the board, but the way it's written is it's the DEC recommend things. They do not make requirements unless you're within 5 miles of an actual bat site or within 1 of a site in. Right. So when you had the last applicant say they would agree to the DEC requirements, I'm not sure the exact words you
We
used,
said guidelines.
guidelines. So my understanding of that would be that unless it falls under those 2 exceptions, there is no requirement. Is that the board's understanding as well?
No,
No.
definitely not. Our understanding is that between the dates, I don't remember what dates
Right.
are. There's no disturbance meaning.
Well, it's of any parcel in the,
No. Can I
in the town.
I can read it. to
It's
you.
not of any parcel in the town. It's,
It's this
they
particular.
have this, right, if
It has
it
the
fall within the
overlay.
DEC,
If it falls within the DEC.
See.
Overlay.
or the DEC says there, you can't do it, you can't do it.
Can I read you?
Doesn't mean everything in
Can we
town.
read you a small piece? It might be helpful.
I've read it.
Many
Hey,
times.
I'm
So
the
you-
attorney for Rosendale, which is the biggest Indiana bat place in the country. Trust me, I know
Okay.
Indiana bats.
So, right, so-
They flew in my backyard all the time when I was a kid.
I have one living in an overhead light socket.
Yeah, they're kind of here now, but they
Exactly.
used to not be in Rochester. They used to be
But-
Rosendale, and now they're in Rochester too.
You disagree with but my position,
Yeah.
unless it's within those two criteria, there is no requirement, correct?
I couldn't tell you what the exact criteria are, but I'd look, but yeah, it's not every,
Right.
yeah.
The way it's
There
written is,
are criteria you
it's
have to meet. to
unless
fall
you hit
within,
these two
yeah.
criteria, it says that there is no requirement unless you hit these two criteria. If you don't hit those, you don't have it. They can recommend it, right? But that's not the case. It's not, and that it's a requirement. And I think that there's a lot of confusion about that with a lot of different boards, a lot of
Yeah,
attorneys.
That's never been my understanding, but I'm going to defer to our attorney
Yeah, no. it's-
to tell us
Mhm.
how to handle it.
You know, in the submission, I'll provide that. In the submission, I'll provide that documentation and for the board to review and for council to review.
Thank you.
You can certainly do that.
As the judge would
I'm
say
sure
to
I
you
have
in
it
court,
file.
I'll take it under consideration.
There you go. I'll take that.
Anything else?
Is there anything else you were concerned about?
No. I don't think so. I did find the law for the,
Also there.
thank you, I appreciate that.
So if there's nothing else, then I'm just gonna, so I think we need to get a letter from you guys going back to Liz, which I'll thoroughly review. I don't see anything else to happen right now because we don't have a response from the applicant.
I understand that. The one thing I would ask, what I would love is if the board is going to come to a site visit, I'd like to know every board wants done, so there's one visit, so we don't have to do this in two visits. So,
Well, we may
so
have to do
it's-
two visits because there's a
Yeah,
requirement.
Yeah.
They can't stop themselves
True,
from
true.
talking when they're
Right,
there.
right, right. They can't help themselves?
They can't help.
But the things the board want to see is.
No, we're talking about like stake one thing and then you guys want us to go stake something else.
No, I
Tell us what you want staked.
Yeah,
and
staking
if-
is-
If you go out multiple times, I'll go out there and stake it once and be done with it.
So there's the driveway there's a shared driveway and the two driveways. You want those staked.
Yes,
Those are already flagged,
it's already flagged.
right? The septic sites, are those,
I'd have to check with Chris if they're flagged or not.
do you need
but-
those flagged?
I don't see. anything
They've
for
been
septic
approved by
system.
the department.
Done, right?
Yeah.
And it's, well, so are the driveways. But, you know,
Well, we're going up there for a feeling of the lay of the land and say trees under 24 inches or not.
right, so you want to see driveways
Right.
and the wetlands.
You want the lines flagged or?
Yeah, the proposed lot lines of which lot is gonna be,
No, whatever leases roads are in.
and you could do those at the road, at the road, so you don't have to go.
So you just want
We're
me,
not
One
saying
lot,
not
lot
one every
three.
10 feet.
Well, no, you got 5 lots, you could have lot 1 staked out, lot 2 staked out.
you don't need the lines. No, all done. You just want to know where the.
Just
line-
showing on the
road.
Town road.
On the town
Okay.
road side, yeah.
That's all.
That'll be, yeah.
Okay.
We'll walk as
I'll
straight,
take-
Yeah,
we'll walk as straight as we can, and if we get,
we'll know where the wetlands is, so we'll know where the middle of it anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
so let us know, communicate to us when that's done, and then the board can make plans to update it. Okay, and that would be over the next 2 weeks, next 3 weeks, whatever.
Before hunting season.
A lot of acres there to hunt.
That'd be a good idea.
I'm sure they
And
understand that.
We'll schedule you for the next meeting as soon as we get
great.
the
I know
responses.
so many surveyors who won't go after and hunt.
We need the responses like 2 weeks before the next meeting, which is November 8th. So you wouldn't be on the next meeting of November 8th unless we got the responses
By the 20.
By the 25th.
by 20.
Yep.
And what's the next meeting after that?
November 8th.
No, they one after that. If we don't make that.
Second
Always
Monday
the
in
second
December.
Monday.
Second Monday. of
Second
the
Monday
month,
of every.
And it's due
month.
14.
Unless
So the
it's a
second
holiday,
Monday in
in case
December
it's some
would be
other-
the second Monday in December.
It's December 13th.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So that materials would be due November 29th to get on the December 15th agenda.
And it's on the website.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Forget it.
and it'll be in the follow-up letter that I'll send to
All right, you're gonna send me that draft document too, right?
you.
All
All right.
set?
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Good
it.
night.
Thanks for sticking it out.
Heather, oh, no worries. no
Chrome stone.
worries.
Come on,
Heather
council,
likes
sit
taking
down.
out.
Black shirt my mom sent me.
Heather, this is the first time that we'll be seeing, the board will be seeing Chromestone, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna give the floor to you. Chromestone, if I could just quickly fill in the board. It's a lot line deletion combined with a subdivision based on some previous map notes that we picked up, possibility that it was already once subdivided. And the creation of a lot, proposed lot number 2, where the house would go, access to what looks like a flag lot.
I didn't have time
Mark,
to-
could you distribute
Yes, I
those
gave
maps?
to him.
Somebody has a copy.
Those are updated. We,
we
the
don't want
ones that I sent you
Zori
guys.
wants that one.
I need a map.
Frick coming at you.
Heather, give me 1
Oh,
second.
pass that down.
Anne Marie, could you?
Tried. That's all I got.
Where did you beat me to it?
She beat you to it.
She said these are new.
These are a little updated because the ones I had submitted had the old wetland lines on it. The deed's since been out there, and so the ones that are on this map is the most.
Oh,
is the
okay, so
most
these are for
to-date.
me to keep.
Yeah, so these are for, I think I sent you a PDF of this. And there's
You
also an
guys do
existing
what-
woods road there too. That was
that.
You guys do put the dates.
Yeah, in the title block.
Yeah.
And combine the two sides.
Okay.
Yeah, right now, it's all one lot and it straddles Upper Whitfield Road. So this could have just been a natural subdivision, but they wanted to keep the barn with the house, and the barn is on the other side of the road. So then, I mean, technically, it's all one lot, so we want to create 2 lots. If we just did a natural subdivision, it would be 2 lots. I don't know how you guys want to look at this.
So the 1 lot is in the dark blue. There's currently, and it's naturally subdivided by Upper Woodfield.
No,
Exactly.
because they do the entrance
the
there.
barn's on the other
Now
side.
it becomes.
Right, so then that kind of shoots the idea of
You
just
got
a.
some water there too, huh?
The whole
So
thing
there's
is
a.
a lot
of water.
Well, no,
Is
not
it-
the whole thing.
Is it really?
It's not the whole thing.
Okay, keep going. With-
So that being said, we created this plat where the barn and most of the wetlands are going with the existing house. And then the remaining uplands here, which have been historically accessed via this existing road, would be the second.
You're referring
Where it
to
says it-
the 50-foot wide right-of-way?
There's it's 50
By the
feet plus
stone
another
wall.
50 feet. There was a 50-foot right of way to provide access to the Sampanar and Gaddis lot.
Right.
But then there's also another 100 feet where it's the wetland buffer, where there is an existing road right now.
Okay.
So when this was originally drawn, the idea was that the access would have gone through that right of way. But given that there's an existing road, we'd like to use that. It is in the buffer, but because it's existing, there would be no further disturbance to the buffer.
So
And
it's not just a deeded right of way, the road actually is there?
the road is actually there and it's not within the right of way.
What
It-
barn?
The barn is here.
So they want to keep the barn.
They want to keep the barn, keep
So
these
this
two
is
together.
another one that I looked at and I'm like, it looks like they're doing this, is this reopening up a subdivision, a major subdivision? Because it says all over the place. Survey map showing a division of lands of the estate, Dr. Felix Marquand.
It wasn't a
And-
filed subdivision map, though. That's the thing. This survey map that we're referencing isn't filed anywhere in the county. It's an old map,
And
so.
depending on when it happened, it may have been before subdivision.
Existed, okay.
Yes.
And then this-
It was
so the-
91, so.
Oh,
Well,
no,
they
I
existed
think
then.
Yes,
This
we
is in
had
1803.
Right.
And then you have the same thing, the 50-yard right of way as granted by Marquand to McKinley and Hanley to be granted with lot 2.
Which is now at Sampanar and Gaddis lot, where it says lot 2 as shown on filed map.
You know what, in 1991,
This here.
depending on how many lots there were, they may not have needed subdivision.
That's
Very
still in the magic
recently,
time of
it
4
was
lots
like
or
4
less.
lots or less.
Yeah.
So seeing as this was a messenger in Jackson, do you guys have that map in your?
We have it in our files. In fact, I have it right here, I believe, or at least a portion.
So it may not be a subdivision because a subdivision wasn't required back then.
Right,
If it
there's a
were-
piece of it, but it's in the survey file. Oh, no, here it is. Had an intern come in to catalog all of these old maps. we had. So this is the original survey map, and like I'm saying, it's not filed with the county.
How many lots are on that? Been 5 or less. I can't remember.
It's 4.
So curious.
Yeah,
It's 4.
it's
okay.
4, and that was the
So they
magic
did not
number.
need a subdivision back then, so this is not a re-subdivision. Subdivision wasn't required.
So
That's
it's a
not
minor
everyone.
point.
It's 3.
I mean, they're not gonna be
I
subdividing.
was the planning
anymore
board
than
attorney in
this anyway,
1990.
so.
You were, you were.
I was.
Oh, the way they have it listed as freshwater wetlands too, they have that on there.
Yeah, I
so-
mean, the wetlands have been here for a long time. If anything, they've receded a bit. We were kind of expecting that they might have grown, but they actually shrunk a bit.
Cause I know when I was a kid, that road was taped over sometimes if there was a heavy rain. I don't think that's happened in a long time.
You're talking about Whitfield getting washed over?
Whitfield,
Yeah.
Which would have affected
Everything.
this.
Mhm.
And then are we doing anything?
All right, so we've established that it's not a re-subdivision, so we're
Okay.
good there.
That's a lot. And that's
It is a
lot.
lot line change. This new lot number 1.
Right, now, sorry, this is one big lot, I'm so confused now.
It is, it's
Right now,
one big lot
right
that
now.
straddles
This straddles
Whitfield.
Whitfield right now.
So
Okay.
here's an off the idea. Would it be better to consider it a natural?
Natural subdivision, that's kind of what we're hoping, but.
And then move the lot line after to grow that lot?
So where are we coming up with the natural subdivision?
Because the
Whitfield Road.
upper Whitfield splits the
Okay,
lot.
It does that, but
That's
they
what
want
happened.
the barn to be part of it.
Right.
Exactly.
So you're not, a natural subdivision would mean each side of the road was a
Exactly.
different lot.
Right.
Exactly.
You can't do a
Then
natural
that would,
subdivision
exactly.
and have the
So
part
that,
of it.
that
I
would
guess
have
I was
had,
saying to do the natural subdivision first
Right.
And then do a lot line adjustment.
to
After.
grow the new lot.
But what
But
does
then
that
you
do
need
for
to
you?
introduce
Yeah,
house.
Avoid the
probably.
minor subdivision process.
Right,
right.
that makes
It
sense.
might be a little bit more timely, but just a thought.
Yeah,
So what is conflict now? Without it?
Now you don't have to deal with the wetlands and everything, right?
But you still
So
have to
you
deal.
do,
I
yeah.
mean, the wetlands have been dealt with, they've been mapped.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean,
So you do a natural subdivision
To get the lot off. each
to get
other.
that off each
Right.
other.
Mhm.
So you get this one lot over here and then the
Okay.
one lot over there.
And then
And
you
then
come back
grow
to
lot
us with
one
this-
and
after
shrink
that's
lot two.
approved with a.
With a
Yeah.
lot line adjustment,
lot
then
line
to merge
adjustment.
these lands with that.
Well, to shrink the big lot and grow the small lot.
Exactly.
So when you do your lot line adjustment, is that gonna be a major subdivision?
Because it's a
Right, because
we.
I thought you guys were taking care of that situation.
No, because we want to keep it because it keeps people from doing chip away, chip away, chip away, chip away.
Which is
chip
exactly
away,
what we would be
Which
doing
is what we're
here.
trying to
Which
do
is what
here.
we're
trying
Which
to
we're trying to
avoid.
do, okay? So you did that,
You didn't hear
So-
that.
so
I mean,
you're
it
gonna have a
doesn't
major
seem like it
subdivision.
saves much
What?
of anything.
This
but-
but you could ask for a waiver,
right.
like when, what's her name?
Yeah, like,
When Verna
Gillis.
Gillis moved the thing to get the well on the right.
Which
lot.
is okay.
And
It would be more timely though,
the argument would be they just want to get the barn on the right side,
which is an easy argument.
so the chicken doesn't have to cross the road.
So the chicken doesn't have to go to a new
Still
owner.
gonna have to cross the road,
that's right.
I don't
no
know,
matter
Heather, what
what.
do you
the
think?
chicken's crossing the road.
Sure, seems a
think-
lot.
It
Whatever.
would be timely though. It would be. It
You
would be a
taking
little bit.
more time?
No, it'd be
or-
less time.
Be
They're
less
doing,
time.
be less time than this.
So you would need two
You need two
applications.
applications. How would
So
it be
do we
less
know is
time?
Upper Woodfield?
Well, because it's very
Road-
A
fast.
town road.
No, I know
It's
it's
very fast to do a natural
Whether it's
subdivision.
by
It doesn't take
user
anything.
or whether
Natural
it's
subdivision
by-
is
Is-
it's
So-
certified. It's a
No,
1
I-
second.
Yeah, it's definitely
And
town
then-
road, but-
That's not my question. It's how did it become a
And the
town
lot
road?
line
Was it a
adjustment.
town
And
road?
then a lot line is the same thing. It takes
What's the
2
question,
seconds.
Marilyn?
It's 2 things. It
Hang
takes
on,
2
she's got
seconds.
a question.
2 meetings.
There was a point when it wasn't.
Otherwise, you
So-
start doing like delineation of
Yeah, we don't have
wetlands
to do
and
that.
blah, 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 and house location and septic and
Does the current deed for this
Show
huge
two
parcel
lots.
include ownership of Upper Whitfield Road? So this may be by user, in which, because I'm just thinking, if you
Goes
combine them
halfway
again
into the
later,
road.
is it a problem if we have a road in between?
Then
that's a dedicated
through
road?
the center line of Upper Woodfield Road, the
There
following
you go.
19 courses. So
So you each
technically-
owns half each side.
Yeah.
Right,
crazy.
that's okay.
That's
Okay.
good.
That's good.
No, that's
for
good.
It's
us.
good, all right.
That's good, because
That
then
means
it's still in the deeds. in the
Okay.
chain of title.
So what you're saying is that they own up.
They own the halfway of the middle of the road.
Halfway from each,
From each side, they
On each
basically own
side.
Upper
Which
Woodfield.
in
I
fact,
assume.
they own.
So it's
I wouldn't put it that way, but yeah.
Right.
that'd be great.
right,
They're
so
responsible
over,
for
I
maintenance.
walk on that all the time. I know exactly
No,
what
Upper
you're
Whitfield
talking
Road is a
about.
town road.
Do you want to
Okay.
mull
No,
this
is there-
over, Lou?
is
Up
there
a bit?
one?
I'm
That's
sorry.
what Mary
I said,
Lou
do
said.
you want to mull this over? Because it sure seems to be easier if we could do natural subdivision, one that takes 2
Certify it,
seconds.
yep.
Certify it, then you come back,
With a new
lot
application.
line, certify the lot line, 2 seconds versus
With
delineate the wetland. Like, I know you did of the DEC, but draw it again, 100 X, oh my
right, get
God.
the waivers.
We have the
on
waivers
minor
on the type of-
subdivision.
Minor
all that, 2
subdivision,
meetings.
the waiver
Yeah.
that you have a road
The
going
public
through, they want to
hearing,
use,
you
the
know,
public
exactly,
hearing.
yeah.
And
You're
the,
looking at 6
and the
months.
argument for doing it that way is that all of this is existing
Exactly.
already,
Mhm.
including the right of way.
And I mean, really, all you're
Yeah.
doing is moving lot lines.
Right.
through
And
this
We're just
whole
making
thing.
sure the chicken goes to the right owner.
Right.
Thank you.
Including, right, we're just moving lot lines around up to the same owner, and they,
And it's all in an LLC, so you know,
Hmm.
even if an owner dies, you don't have to go, oh no, they won't give it back to me. Because it's an LLC, so it's the equivalent of a company.
do you want to sleep on it, Mary Lou? Think that we're okay on this and then get back?
No, I
think
think
the natural
Merck's
subdivision-
plan scheme.
Scheme.
But it
A
is.
little slimy, but it's the way to do
But
it.
it does fit within our code.
Well, we have the natural subdivision in our
I
code, unlike
appreciate that.
some.
I just didn't want to seem sneaky by doing
No,
that,
it's
you
not
know?
sneaky. I mean, if you can do it, you can
Yeah.
do it. Nothing sneaky about it. So it's just,
It
if
seems
it's
a lot
easier for the
easier
client.
for-
So do we need a
Yeah,
new
that would be
application for a
great.
natural subdivision?
And then one for the lot line.
But we
Yeah.
can't do that at the same meeting.
No.
No,
So that's your problem. That's the delay.
Yeah.
no, that's not
Still
delay,
too-
that's still faster.
It's still quicker.
Bill,
Okay.
It's still quicker. than subdivision.
Right, exactly.
Minor subdivision
So at
is
Christmas
best-
time, you'll be home.
I mean, avoiding the public hearing is a good thing.
They're not
Yeah,
gonna-
right, I agree.
Well, just any minor subdivision is a minimum
Yeah, I
of
am.
3.
Okay,
4 meetings.
Yeah.
so
probably
here we
4.
go. Mary Lou's okay with it. Why don't we just proceed in that fashion?
All right, that's his correct.
Excellent.
I know you're buying
Actually,
dinner.
you probably have, if you're gonna do that, you probably have to go back to Jerry. Go
Yes,
back to the building
exactly.
department.
Oh,
And Jerry's
Okay.
gonna.
Application
that's-
for a natural subdivision.
and with the 3 weeks ahead of time, but now that this is a short meeting, do I have enough time to 3 weeks before the meeting to get the zoning in
If you
front of
do it
Jerry?
tomorrow.
If you show up
Yeah.
tomorrow. And all you want to do is you want to put an
Well, we already
application
have
for.
one in for a subdivision, so to Jerry, so wouldn't
No,
it be the
you
You
same?
want that, act-
procedure?
you want to start over with
He
a
has
new
to,
natural
no, he
subdivision.
has to like say, no.
He has
this
to
isn't-
refer it back.
He has to
to us
refer it back to
us
us.
before
Okay.
we
He
can-
has to totally change it.
But your
to
application
something.
is for a natural subdivision.
Okay.
And if you get
Which
all
is-
that to us by the 25th of October, we
10
can put
days.
you on the November 8th meeting.
Right.
You can
It's
do that
more
tonight.
getting to Jerry, as she said.
Well, I have to get it Jerry
You
for
can get
3
Jerry
weeks
for 3
beforehand,
weeks. So she
so.
could get to us, okay, but Jerry's,
Right. they have to get
you know
it
what, I
to
have an
Jerry
idea.
next week.
We're gonna take the green chairs, lie them all out, and you can just sleep here, because he's gonna be here
You can
pretty
do
soon.
this tonight.
I've been working so late this morning. Hey.
Oh, boy.
It's pretty
You
close.
can do this
to Jerry
tonight. You're all
Ryan.
right.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yes, I can fill out a zoning application.
mean,
And
by
I
the
think I
way-
have a
We
letter of
saved you- we
agent,
saved you
so
2
I
months.
don't
You'll be
even
all right.
need to
Yeah.
get.
Look, we have
Yeah. I'm pretty
a
sure
blanket
I
for you there with cookies on it.
I'll be back to make breakfast. You
All
give
right,
me
move it
snacks.
Okay.
You give me
Having
snacks
your
in
own
the
kids
kids'
at-
club.
Okay, natural subdivision and lot line application, get the zoning applications to Jerry tomorrow morning.
Okay,
There you
now,
Yes,
just
perfect.
while you're here,
Uh-oh.
we're
No.
gonna have maladjusted on the agenda. That's yours, right?
Yes,
For the,
we refer to it as 3 Italians.
Yes, I
Sorry?
know. So
Yeah, the
we-
3 Italians.
That's what we tried to
That's
do.
where I got it from.
Oh, you got it from her?
Yeah.
Because we're like, which one do we put in front? They're all, yeah, anyway.
So that'll be
the
on the
three
workshop?
Italians, yes, so the only thing I'm really
That's
waiting
good.
for is the threatened and endangered report to come back from the wiki. But I have most of everything done. We weren't going to do the one, once we looked at the disturbance for putting the road across lot 2, you know, you were talking about this idea of the shared, they don't want to do that. They have zero interest in doing that, so.
I think I indicated in the first meeting, I'm
Yeah.
okay with doing what they want to do.
Okay, good, because Liz's
But-
letter came back with a paragraph about,
But
about
I talked
that.
to her about that. and I
Okay.
said, it's the board's decision.
Okay.
I thought I encourage the boards, it's not on the.
That's
agenda,
what
but
I thought too, when I saw
thought I
that
heard the
letter, I
board
was
say-
like,
Okay with that road, if everybody, but you know what, let's wait to the workshop.
Let's
Okay.
not talk about it now, it's 10:30.
You have to go home and go to bed.
Moving on.
I know. Well,
We have
just
one more to
Vern,
talk about?
We just have Vern to talk
Yeah.
Well,
about.
Burn, here you are, you're here.
I'm
Oh,
here.
she's here for Burn.
I'm for
I
Vern
just heard
too.
what you started. to
And my
say.
only issue with the decision, same thing that we had with CUSAC about the land.
Yeah, no, that,
The land
I think that
disturbance.
we can use the same language, when we
Okay.
get to that, we can use the same language we used in CUSAC.
Okay.
All right, so let's go to,
Let me grab that folder.
We still have that letter we gotta go through.
It's a quick thing.
No, no, it's
We're not going
nothing.
through it,
It's
don't worry
nothing.
Oh.
It's nothing.
I took
It's-
care of it.
It's a nothing burger.
It's
important,
a
but we're
town,
not-
it would be a town board issue. It's legislation you're asking for.
Yeah.
So they
Pretty
just
quick,
sent it to a bunch of planning boards, which kind of makes you think.
And the ZBA.
Right, do we want to use them?
All right, so everybody remembers the burn, we made some changes. I don't want to read, I don't want to read anything.
I don't either. Okay, we've all read it. Can we just
Did
skip to
everybody
the
read?
conditions?
Can we actually go
If
ahead and
you,
vote,
if, well, we have that one thing we want to change
which is, sorry, it's 10:30.
on the, what number was it?
It
Did you copy
was,
this one for us?
It
It was D
at
It's
the
in
back
bullet.
of your.
It's in the back.
it's about right here.
It's the
It's a
last
bullet.
Oh, here it is, okay.
What number was that?
It's a F, according to mine. It's like right here in the middle of the
Yeah,
page.
that has not changed, I don't think.
And it's after DEC stream,
Page 8,
Rochester water.
page 8,
Page 8.
D.
You want to take the land disturbance part off, you want to say whatever you said, F.
Right.
With
right.
CUSAC.
Exactly the
Substituting
same
for the
as
same
CUSAC.
language we used in CUSAC, so it's not just,
It's
So
not
that they can
unfamiliar.
build during the.
so we can
winter-
take off
during the
land
summer months,
disturbance.
basically,
and,
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
All right, so I'll make the motion to,
The only thing that I have a problem with here again, the one thing, we can make a motion for this one, is, so you took out our shared, we're gonna have to come to some conclusion here, that shared driveway cannot be further subdivided, that the lawyer wanted out, but we put every other person, and that's our
We
shared
kept it in.
driveway, no, we kept it in. So now we're treating this person differently than every
But
single.
the shared driveway has to
No.
be up to 3 driveways, right? We can share. in
Right,
center
we,
houses?
we changed the language, but don't forget, we're now at a 2.
Two.
What he wanted
driveways.
was that it wouldn't say
It was
one
about
family
two families.
residence because
Okay.
our,
Code.
because he was saying a 2, what if they put up a 2-family residence?
Right.
well, we
But
don't
we
have
said,
that.
no, our code says
One resident.
1-family
You're
residence,
right,
so
you're right,
that's how we,
you're right.
We didn't change that.
we didn't, that's the one we didn't
Mhm.
We
change.
refused.
You're
to-
right, I'm exhausted.
Okay.
So am
No,
I.
that's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
right.
yeah, totally.
Good to bring
You
it
took
up.
out the perpetuities, which were silly.
Right.
We took
Yeah,
out the perpetuities,
this
we
is
took out the
exactly
deeds.
what we talked about.
Mary, we took out the deeds, and the other ones, we said, no, we're not.
You
changing
got the
it.
what?
I think we're
The
actually
deeds,
encouraging
we're just
people
not-
He's the bee.
Where we said, put
We
the
didn't say
restrictions in
anything
place.
about bees.
We said you must have a bee
And we're
farm.
still on YouTube, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my God.
I'll just
That's
watch
fine,
it.
they were allowed to have a watch.
Oh, the light's not even on
Same
anymore.
people that are
All
watching.
right, so I will make a motion that, to both accept the fine, to
Let's make 2 separate motions.
To
First, to accept the findings
accept the
as
fines
presented.
as presented.
I second the motion,
And I'm sorry, this is to, yeah.
accept the
For the
findings.
for the-
Okay, right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Then I'll make a motion to accept the conditions with the exception of page, with the modification.
Page 8,
Page 8,
F.
number F,
Mhm.
that be changed in exactly the same way that we changed
The same language.
the
same language that we use in the
that we
CUSAC
used in the
decision.
previous
And
uh, decision. And
that you amend your previous decision in this manner.
And
Because we already have it.
Do we amend the previous decision in this manner? I did that.
previous decision that was made a couple of months ago.
I'll
And
second
let's,
that.
in this
I'm
one.
sorry,
In
please
August.
redate the top of this, because this is the August 9th. And say, and conditional final approval.
On top, in the header.
Yep.
I'm seeing one that says October 14th.
Well, it's because you're lucky.
Because
Oh,
you're
okay.
special.
Yeah, ours says August 9th. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
special.
mine says August 9th.
You know what? You
Nicole
must have an
likes
auto,
me.
you must have an automatic date updater on it.
Exactly.
You know, when you do that, I have that.
From Rochester?
You have.
Thank God, man.
We don't-
My horoscope was good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my horoscope was all about.
Okay,
what we
Get
should
things
have done.
Oh my God, even though Mercury's in retro.
that's my motion. Who wants to second it?
I
Me.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Okay, the last on the agenda is this letter from a.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
From
Okay,
you.
everything.
Which is also in your.
Okay.
also in your-
No, really.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, sorry, what were you saying?
We're all excited.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Heather.
It's the last thing in your package. It's from a law firm of Campanelli, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he's proposing, he'd love to come talk to us about some changes to our code having to do with
5G.
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 Thank you. And that's the 5G. Mary Lou and I talked about this before. I'm not tabling, I'm just saying, yeah, great, but we make laws, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna
forward it
send a
to the
letter.
town board.
I'm gonna send it to the board
They may have one as well.
with,
Probably do.
with a indication that the board would like, if you do, I'd make a motion that I send a letter to the board. The planning board is very interested in the town board considering this.
I'd
And
like them to consider and me review it if they need to review it.
Exactly.
exactly.
This is somebody who from Long Island, who I sent them to every town in the
So,
state.
exactly.
Probably.
I know that he sent them to Woodstock
Sent it to Warsing, sent it
and
to
Worthing,
Rosendale, sent
exactly,
it to
exactly.
Marlboro.
And I know that.
So he's
exactly.
soliciting everybody, so I would like to make a motion that our lawyer looks it
You
over.
don't need-
Can we
No.
do that, or
No,
does?
Send it to the town board. It's
No, no.
legislation.
We're gonna refer it to the town board.
I got you.
Just send it to the town board. You don't even need a motion for it.
There,
Can I ask a question on that?
You should.
Do we have quorum if he did do a presentation and we all sat as members of the public and we wanted to listen to him, like us as planning board people?
Taxpayers.
You can go as
But
individuals.
we just happen to be the individuals.
No,
of-
that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah,
right?
fine,
that's
because
fine.
I will not be here for that.
You're
so.
residents of the town. You don't give up everyone if you want.
Zuri will be together.
Yeah.
So Maren, do you?
Not with
do you
a
wanna-
quorum
you
and not
wanna
if you
put
do
that meeting
business.
together of individuals? No?
Plant board.
No, I was just wondering, like, if we
Heritage
put up,
Day,
like,
we can't even talk.
is it gonna like trigger some quorum thing? I have something actually for you and Nicole that, we sent a note before on other matters to Mr. Cafiero, I always say his name
Oh, yeah,
wrong.
the.
Caffaro.
The drive-by, he did, warning him, please don't put asphalt on because you haven't done any of your landscaping.
Oh my God.
We're supposed to have we told him
Yeah.
a 20-foot thing in front. He's now asphalted everything.
Yeah, I saw that. I
And
talked
so
to-
he's in violation of his planning board.
I
what we
talked to
told him.
Okay,
Jerry.
that's very.
No, I know that
Yeah.
is, but
I talked
should
to
we
Jerry.
send another letter or you send another letter?
Well, what I did was I talked to Jerry and he said, I've seen it. He said, I'm not doing anything right now. I'm paraphrasing. I'm waiting until he comes for the CFO.
Mm.
But he didn't say any more and I just smiled and walked away.
So he knows what he's.
So he
And
knows
that's,
Gives an
and,
idea.
and
What is- you're
as
talking about
tempting as it is, and
sandwich
as much
place?
as you
The
want
Rainbow
to, when
Diner.
somebody's
Yeah, sandwich place.
obviously not
Yeah.
doing what they were told to do in their
You finally
decision.
moving, doing, start.
After.
They're gonna open
No, I know that
Yeah,
totally. It was
you
just
know?
like to tell him, I was just telling the
So what happens in
board,
that
so they know that when it was half done and he got paused, didn't get asphalt or something. I said to Jared, I said, maybe you want to warn him to remember to do everything before he pours asphalt, trying to be nice as the planning board. And Jerry did go and say, hey, you know, you gotta do everything, and he poured asphalt anyway. I'm just filling everybody in here right
And
now.
that's when I went to Jerry.
So what happens in that situation? Jerry does what?
Find some, I don't
No,
know.
what Jerry will probably do
You won't
is
issue the
when he's
CO.
He's not
asked for
gonna
the
CO.
CFO, Jerry's
Until
gonna,
it's completed.
Make them dig it
You
up.
can make him dig it up.
Jerry's gonna go out there and say, wait a minute, you didn't meet these conditions, you don't get a CFO. And he'll simply say, you can go to the board and get them to make modifications to it.
You can ask for an amendment or you can get
And,
up.
you know, we can tell
Yeah,
them.
it's better to.
Which
yes
is the
or
same
no.
thing that happened with the Cohasset liquor store.
Yeah. same
They didn't do
exact-
any of their landscaping.
Landscaping.
So they said they wanted to come back and ask for an amendment. And then we said, oh,
Yes.
you can do this difference. Oh my gosh, no, it's easier to do the landscaping.
Yeah.
And they
Yes,
just did the
yeah, I
landscaping.
remember that.
I
And
remember
we're like,
that.
okay, you wanna, that's gonna be a public hearing again and yada,
Yep,
yada.
I
They're like,
remember
we'll put the
Once we
bushes.
told him what he had to go through, he said, okay.
Yeah, right.
And
But
also,
I'm not
get some
gonna, I'm not
trees.
gonna presume what Jerry's gonna do, but my sense when I talked to him was,
Hold the feet to the
he's
fire.
not gonna get a CFO.
right.
They shouldn't.
And
Not doing it
since you get
properly.
to do all of these things now, because you're the chair, when we drive by, Rich has not been turning his lights off, and that was one of our conditions
Oh, yeah.
of approval.
You make a note of that?
And he didn't mark parking lot. He didn't mark parking lot.
I needed him our parking lot, which he was, so he hasn't done a lot.
He said how I can mark it if it's gravel.
You can, they do it all the
Figure
time
it
with
out,
like pieces of.
Yeah, they have that like.
Tissue stuff.
Is
Yeah,
that the-
that-
is
They
that-
do, you know what they do? it
matter
up in
with the
Walmart.
light?
They have some things that
Is
walk
that a
spots,
Jerry
so
issue?
he
Yeah,
can do it.
anything
Yeah.
after our decision.
So you
that
might
they're
want
not
to
complying
talk
with
to
is a
Jerry and
Jerry.
say.
Okay, yeah.
We
I can-
officially
I can
closing,
bring it up.
we're still taping us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's still, we're still
Still
on.
taping us.
That's fine.
That's
These
all
are,
right.
these are
No,
planning
no, no,
board.
no, I'm not saying
issues.
anything.
Marion, you
Yeah,
wanna do-
the things we shouldn't be talking about as a planning board if we're not being taped in. We're still
Exactly,
recording.
we're- exactly.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to end the meeting.
Make a motion to end this.
Second.
Second, all in
It
favor?
was really quick there, Mark.
Anybody opposed? I want to thank Zach
Aye,
again.
we're all in favor.
Zach
Yeah.
and Mark.
Zach is drooling on himself right now. I'm still here.
Okay,
Did you get a
thank
snaps?
you.